Hello everyone, and welcome to Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting series on what if Naruto had the power of Quantum Ranger. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. Silver Hills, USA, year 2001. Outside Biolab headquarters to the Silver Guardians. Two guards were keeping watch when they spotted a SUV coming towards the gates and saw it had the Silver Guardian symbol on it. It then stopped at the gates and the guards went over to see who it was. "Okay, sir. Roll down the window and state your business," said one of the guards. The window rolled down and a man about 21 years old wearing the Silver Guardian's uniform and a hat with the letters CGD on it and sunglasses over his eyes looked at the guards. "My name is Eric Myers and I am here to see Mr. Collins. Is there a problem with that?" said Eric. "No sir, just didn't know you were going to show up. Please proceed, Mr. Myers," said the guard, giving Eric a salute. With that, Eric drove through the gates and got out of his SUV. He then proceeded to the lab. As he was walking, he looked down at his left wrist and looked at the quantum morpher. He thought about how he found it and used it to become the Quantum Ranger and how he used his powers and the Q-Rex to become leader of the Silver Guardians and got the Mega Battle Armor. He was also thinking on how to get back at Wes for betraying him as a friend in prep school. He then stopped outside the lab and went inside. "Aw Eric, good to see you could make it," said Mr. Collins. "Thank you sir," said Eric, giving him a salute. "So what is it that wanted to see me for?" "I wanted you come to see something that will change the world and make biolabs rich," replied Mr. Collins. "What is it?" asked Eric. "I will let Dr. Zaskin explain it," said Mr. Collins. A man in his late 30s appeared holding a glass beaker with two pieces of yellow crystal in it. "This here, Mr. Myers, is called a Trixerium crystal and it will be the answer to the world's energy crisis," said Dr. Zaskin. "What's so special about it? It just looks like a regular crystal to me, Doc," replied Eric. "This crystal has enough power to run an entire city for 100 years, once it is stable," said Dr. Zaskin. "How do you plan on making it stable?" asked Eric, curious. "Dr. Zaskin has a machine that he made to make it stable," said Mr. Collins. "Yes I do. Please follow me," said Dr. Zaskin. He then led Eric and Mr. Collins over to a machine that looked like something from the future. "This machine here I invented will allow me to fuse the two halves together to make the Trixerium crystal complete and stable," said Dr. Zaskin. "So how many times have you used this?" asked Eric. "This will be the first real test I ran on it," replied Dr. Zaskin. "Are you sure it is going to work?" said Eric. "Don't worry, Eric. Dr. Zaskin has ran thousands of computer tests and assures me it will work," replied Mr. Collins. "Now that is over, let's begin the test, shall we?" said Dr. Zaskin. With that, Dr. Zaskin put the two halves of the crystal into the machine and flipped a switch on it. The machine started up and the crystal started to glow a blue color. Everything appeared to work until the machine started let out smoke and fire came out of it. "What going on, doctor?" shouted Mr. Collins. "I don't know, but we need to shut it off before something bad happens," replied Dr. Zaskin. "You two get out of here while I shut it down," said Eric. "That is crazy. Even if you shut it down, it will still cause a small explosion that will kill you," said Dr. Zaskin. "Then I will take that chance," replied Eric with a commending voice. Before they could stop him, Eric ran towards the machine to shut it down. When he reached it, it was letting out fire and smoke, blocking his view of the switch. After 20 minutes of searching, Eric finally found the switch and shut the machine down. All of a sudden, Dr. Zaskin and Mr. Collins saw the machine blow up in a big fireball, sending them out the door into the hall. When they finally got up, they saw the machine was in a million pieces and there was no sign of Eric except a burn mark where he once was. "Okay, Dr. Zaskin, what happened to Eric?" asked Mr. Collins. "I don't know, but from what I see it appears he was vaporized from the explosion," replied Dr. Zaskin. Unnoticed to them, Eric was not dead but was now traveling down a tunnel of light and was wondering when he was going to come out of the end. All of a sudden his body was covered by a white light. When it faded, Eric saw he was in his 12-year-old body. He then came out of the tunnel and fell on solid ground. He felt very weak and tired. He lifted his head up and saw he was in a forest and also a town in the distance. Then he finally passed out from exhaustion. Outside the village, hidden in the leaves, Team 7 was just coming back from completing another D-rank mission and were heading to the Hokage's tower to report to the Hokage. Man, that mission was a waste of time, said Naruto. What about you? Just shut your mouth, Naruto, said Sasuke. Oh, you're going to make me, Sasuke, replied Naruto, sticking his tongue out at Sasuke. Naruto, stop acting like a kid and leave Sasuke alone, shouted Sakura. Well, excuse me for being rude to the great Sasuke Uchiha, said Naruto mockingly. All of a sudden Sakura drove her fist into Naruto's head, making him see stars. Hey, you three, quit arguing and just be glad the mission is over, yelled Kakashi to his students. Sorry, Kakashi-sensei, said Sakura. With that they continued back towards the village. As they were leaping from tree to tree, Sakura thought she saw something on the forest floor and decided to tell Kakashi about. Kakashi-sensei, I need to tell you something, said Sakura. What is it, Sakura? Asked Kakashi. I saw something on the forest floor about 200 feet back, answered Sakura. What did it look like? Asked Kakashi, curious. It looked like a boy about our age laying face down on the ground and he was not moving, said Sakura. Then I guess we should head to the spot and check it out, said Kakashi. With that, Team 7 head to the spot to where Sakura saw the boy on the ground. When they got to the spot, they dropped to the ground. They saw a boy about their age dressed in some strange cloths they never seen before, laying face down on the ground, knockout. Who is he, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. I don't know, Naruto. But something tells me he is not from around here, replied Kakashi. Hey Kakashi. I wonder what that thing on his left wrist is, and what these letters CGD on his hat stand for, asked Sasuke. I don't know, said Kakashi, confused. I wonder what his name is, asked Sakura. How about you see if he has any identification on him, Sakura, to see what his name is and where he comes from, answered Kakashi. With that, Sakura searched the boy over and found a wallet in his pocket and took out ID card with the name Biolab on it. This card says his name is Eric Myers, leader of a group called the Silver Guardians, and he is from a place called Silver Hills, California, USA, and works for a place called Biolab, said Sakura. Where is this Silver Hills? Asked Naruto. I have been all over the elemental countries and I have never heard of Silver Hills or this Biolab, said Kakashi, confused. So what should we do with him, Kakashi? Asked Sasuke. Well, we should bring him to the village's hospital and report this to the Hokage, replied Kakashi. With that, Kakashi picked Eric up and slung him over his shoulder and they headed back full speed to the village. When they got there, they dropped Eric off at the hospital and the doctor said he'd just pass out from exhaustion and should wake up in the morning. You three should head home while I report to the Hokage and tell him about our strange guest, said Kakashi to his students. With that, he leave in a breeze of wind and leaves. Sakura, Naruto, and Sasuke decide to head back to their homes and rest. Sakura told her teammates that she would check on the guy Eric in the morning and tell them how he was doing. With that, they all said good night and went home. Meanwhile, in the Hokage tower, the third Hokage, Sarutobi, was smoking on his pipe waiting for Kakashi to come back and give Sarutobi his report on the mission. All sudden there was a knock at the door outside his office. Come on in, said Sarutobi. With that, Kakashi came into the office. Ah, Kakashi, good to see you. How did the mission go? Said Sarutobi. The mission went as planned, but we encountered something unusual on the way back, Lord Hokage, replied Kakashi. How unusual? Asked Sarutobi. Well, we found a boy about my student's age laying face down on the ground, knockout, answered Kakashi. How is that unusual? Asked Sarutobi. Well, one thing is that he was dressed in some strange cloths I never seen before. Another thing was we found ID cards saying his name was Eric Myers and lives someplace called Silver Hills that I know does not exist, answered Kakashi. That is strange. Anything else to add? Said Sarutobi. There is one more thing, but I didn't want my team to worried about, said Kakashi. What is it? Asked Sarutobi, worried. Well, he has a lot of chakra in his body. But the strangest thing was he was giving off a huge amount of some kind of strange energy that I could not place, replied Kakashi. Thanks for telling me this, Kakashi. You're dismissed for now, said Sarutobi. With that, Kakashi bowed and went out the door. Sarutobi then called for a nurse to come talk to him. After waiting 20 minutes, a nurse came into his office. What can I do for you, Lord Hokage? Asked the nurse. I went you watch over our guest Eric Myers and tell me when he wakes up so I can talk to him and found more about him, said Sarutobi. As you wish, Lord Hokage, replied the nurse. With that the nurse left. The next morning in the hospital, Sakura came by the hospital to see if the boy Eric was up yet. Ah, excuse me, nurse, said Sakura to the nurse at the desk. How may I help you? Asked the nurse. Can you tell me if the boy Eric Myers is up yet? Asked Sakura. While he has not woken up yet, but he should wake up any minute, answered the nurse. Well, is it okay if I go see him until he wakes up? Said Sakura. Well, I was just going up there to check on him, so how about you accompany to his room? Replied the nurse. Thanks a lot, said Sakura. With that the nurse led Sakura upstairs to Eric's room to check in on him. Meanwhile in Eric's room, Eric was just starting to wake up and open his eyes. When he opened his eyes he realized he was in a hospital room he never saw before. He looked around the room and saw his silver guardian shirt and hat on a chair. He then looked next to him and saw his sunglasses, headset, and silver guardian blaster on a desk next to the bed. Man, I feel like I just been up against Rancic and his mutants, said Eric. At that moment Eric shut his mouth and wondered why he sounded like a 12-year-old kid. He then looked at his body and saw he was now a 12-year-old version of himself. What the hell is going on here? Asked Eric. Well, looks like our young patient is finally awake, said the nurse. Eric then looked to his left and saw a nurse with a 12-year-old girl with pink hair in strange cloths he never seen before. Eric then snapped to full alert. He then grabbed his blaster off the desk and pointed it at Sakura and the nurse. Who the hell are you two? And where the hell I am? Shouted Eric in a commanding voice. Calm down, young man, you're in the hospital in the village hidden in the leaves, said the nurse. Where the hell is that? Asked Eric confused. It is in Fire Country and my name is Sakura Haruno, said Sakura in a calm voice. Never heard of it, said Eric. You never heard of our village? Asked Sakura confused. Yeah, and one more question. Do you two work for that mutant scumbag criminal Rancic? Asked Eric with venom in his voice. Who the hell is this Rancic? Asked Sakura. With that Eric aimed his blaster at the wall and pulled the trigger. A laser blast came out of the blaster and left a hole in the wall. Sakura and the nurse stood in fear of what just happened to the wall next to them. One more time. Do you two work for Rancic or not? Asked Eric in a commanding voice. That is enough. Drop your weapon now, said a voice. Eric looked at the door and saw the third Hokage Sarutobi looking at him with a mean look on his face. Who the hell are you, old man? Asked Eric. I am the third Hokage leader of the village. Now put down your weapon and I will explain everything to you, said Sarutobi. With that Eric put his blaster back on the desk. Sarutobi then looked at Sakura and the nurse and told them to leave. As soon as they left, Sarutobi looked at Eric and had a look of concern on his face. You're not from this earth, are you? Asked Sarutobi. What do you mean not from this earth? Asked Eric confused. I mean you're from a different earth, from another universe, said Sarutobi. You mean I ended up on a different earth in another universe? Asked Eric. That is exactly what I mean, young man. Now how about you tell me about yourself, Eric? Said Sarutobi. Eric looked into Sarutobi's eyes and realized that he could trust him. With that Eric told him the story of how he was really 21 years old. How he joined the Silver Guardians and how they protected the city from Rancic and sometimes helped the Power Rangers. He also told him how he found the Quantum Morpher and became the Quantum Ranger and got control of the Q-Rex and used both of them to become leader of the Silver Guardians and defeated many mutant criminals. He told him about Rancic and how he planned on taking over the world. And finally about the test to make a Trixerium crystal that went wrong and how he woke up here in the hospital. That is quite a story, Eric, said Sarutobi. Yeah, it is. But I still don't know how I got here and ended up a 12-year-old kid, replied Eric. I think it must have been the accident you told me about. The explosion must have sent you through the fabric of space-time and the energy from it must have turned you back into a kid, said Sarutobi. That would explain a lot. Eric, I have another question to ask you, Eric, said Sarutobi. What is it? Asked Eric. Well, you have a lot of what we ninja call chakra, but you are giving off a huge amount of strange energy that I don't know what it is. So I would like to know if you know what this energy is and tell me, said Sarutobi. Oh, that is just the power of my animal spirits and the magic that running through my body, said Eric. Care to explain some more? Asked Sarutobi. Well, before I went to prep school I was trained by a secret order called the Order of the Claw, said Eric, showing Sarutobi a tattoo on his arm showing an image of 3 claw marks. What is this order all about? Said Sarutobi, curious. Well, we learn to harness the power of our animal spirits within us. Most have one animal spirit, but some of us have more than one. My animal spirits are the tiger, shark, rhino, wolf, and a special spirit animal that is called the T-Rex, which is a spirit of a prehistoric animal called a dinosaur. I develop a technique where I can use my animal spirits in ranger form, and I called it the Spirit Ranger technique, said Eric with a smile. That sounds like it could be very useful in a battle, said Sarutobi. It is, but I never had to use it before, replied Eric. Now where did you learn magic from? Asked Sarutobi. Oh, I was trained by a sorceress named Udana, who taught me all sort of magic spells, and I was also trained by a person named Corag the Night Wolf. He taught me some more powerful spells and trained me to be a knight. Even though he serves the side of evil, he has a code of honor that made me respect him as a teacher, said Eric with pride. That is a very nice story, said Sarutobi. Yeah, it is, replied Eric. I have something important to ask of you, Eric, said Sarutobi. What is it? Asked Eric. Well, since you have no way to get back to your Earth, and with your experience as a Power Ranger and leader of the Silver Guardians, how would you like to become a ninja of the Hidden Leaf Village and protect it? Asked Sarutobi. What does a ninja of this village do? Asked Eric, curious. With that, Sarutobi told Eric about ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu. He also told Eric about ninja ranks and about mission and their ranks as well. It sounds different than how I was taught to be a ninja, but you can count me in as ninja of this village, said Eric. That is good to hear, Eric. But what do you mean how you were taught to be a ninja? Said Sarutobi. Well, in my world I was trained by 2 secret ninja academies called the Wind Ranger Academy and Thunder Ranger Academy, where I learned to harness the power of air, earth, water, and thunder, as well to ran past the speed of sound, called ninja streaking, said Eric. That is very nice to hear, Eric. Now that all you need to do is come see me an hour at the Hokage Tower so I can give you the Genin exam. Once you pass it you will be placed on a team, said Sarutobi. Sarutobi then gave Eric directions on how to get there and left the room. Eric quickly put on his shirt, hat, sunglasses, and headset on. He then took his blaster and put in its holster on his right side. He then left the hospital. Eric decided to ninja streak to the Hokage Tower. He ran and disappeared into a red blur. After only 5 minutes of ninja streaking, Eric reached the tower. He then went inside and climbed the stairs to the Hokage's office. Before he could get to the door, he was stopped by a guard. What business do you have with the Hokage, young man? Asked the guard. The Hokage is expecting me to come so he can give me the Genin exam so I can become a ninja of this village. Do you have a problem with that, you jerk? Said Eric. What is your name, kid? Asked the guard. It is Eric Myers, replied Eric. You're the kid the Hokage told me to look out for. Sorry about the mix-up. Go on in, the Hokage is expecting you, said guard, giving Eric a bow. With that, Eric went past the guard and went into the Hokage's office. Ah, Eric, good you to see that you came early, said Sarutobi. Thanks, Lord Hokage. So what kind of test are you going to give me? Asked Eric. Well, I am going to teach some genjutsu and ninjutsu, since you have advanced taijutsu skills thanks to your past training, said Sarutobi. With that, Sarutobi showed Eric how to mold chakra and showed him the hand signs for the jutsu that he would need to learn to pass the test. After only half an hour, Eric got all jutsu right on the first try, and there was only 2 more left to go. Okay, Eric, the next jutsu is the transforming jutsu. I want you to transform into your older self, said Sarutobi. Okay, here goes nothing, said Eric. He made the hand sign and said, transform. There was smoke, and when it disappeared, Eric looked like his old self. So did it work? Said Eric with his adult voice. You did it perfectly, Eric, said Sarutobi. With that, Eric was covered by smoke, was back in his kid form. Okay, Eric, the final jutsu is called the Shadow Clone Jutsu, which is a Jonin level jutsu, said Sarutobi. Okay, here goes all or nothing, said Eric. He then made the hand sign and said, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Eric ended up making about 40 shadow clones. The clones then disappeared into smoke. Congratulations, Eric. You're now officially a ninja of this village, said Sarutobi, handing Eric a headband. Thank you very much, sir, replied Eric, giving Sarutobi a salute. Now that you are a ninja, you will be placed on Team 7, who you will meet tomorrow at 12 o'clock at Training Ground 7, said Sarutobi. Okay. But where will I live and how will I pay for everything I need? Asked Eric. I have taken care of giving you apartment, Eric, said Sarutobi, handing Eric a piece of paper with the address of where he would be living. He then handed Eric a plastic card with the symbol of the Hokage's crest on it. This card, Eric, will pay for everything you need, including cloths, food, and your weapons, and don't worry about paying me back. Consider it a welcoming present, said Sarutobi. Thank Lord Hokage. I only need weapons and food as I already have my cloths with me, said Eric. What do you mean? Asked Sarutobi. Well, I always carry my cloths in a sub-pocket dimension, with is where my vehicles and Zord are also stored in case something happens to me, answered Eric. That is very smart thinking, replied Sarutobi. Can you hand me a pen and some paper? Asked Eric. Of course. But why do you need them? Said Sarutobi, handing Eric the pen and paper. Well, I would like to have some weapons custom made for me, and I need the pen and paper to draw the blueprints so the people at the weapons store will know what I need, said Eric. With that, Eric started to draw on the papers. After 20 minutes of drawing on the paper, Eric showed Sarutobi what weapons he need to be made. Very interesting, Eric. I can tell one is a dragon-headed katana. But what are these other two weapons? Asked Sarutobi. One is a sword that was used by a group of people called the Celtics, and it is more deadly than the katana, and the other is a knife that is used by a group of military people called the Marines and is called a Ka-bar knife, which is deadly if used right, replied Eric. You seem to have an eye for weapons, said Sarutobi. Thank you very much, Lord Hokage, replied Eric. You should leave now so you can go shopping for your supplies and look around the village, said Sarutobi. With that, Eric said goodbye to the Hokage and left. When Eric got out of the tower, he headed towards the shopping district. When Eric got to the shopping district, he saw a store with a sign that said the Wolf Claw Weapons Store and went inside. At the counter, a 12-year-old girl with her hair tied in 2 buns saw Eric come into the store. Hi, welcome to the Wolf Claw. My name is Tenten, how may I help you? Said Tenten. My name is Eric and I wanted to know if you make weapons here? Asked Eric. Of course we make weapons. My dad happens to be the best blacksmith in the village. Wait here while I go get him, said Tenten. With that, Tenten disappeared in the back. After 15 minutes of waiting, Tenten came back with an older-looking man. My name is Dustin. What can I do for you? Asked Dustin. I have some blueprints of weapons I would like to be made and wonder if you could make them since I am a new ninja of this village, said Eric, handing Dustin the blueprints of the weapons he drew. I seen the katana before, but I never anything like the other two before, said Dustin. But will you be able to make them? Asked Eric. Of course I can. You came to the right place, replied Dustin. Good, I got 2 different kinds of metals that I want you to combine and make the weapons out of, as well as the rest of the ninja weapons I need, said Eric. With that, Eric pressed a button on his morpher and about 2 piles of 2 different kinds of metal appeared. One pile was a silver white and the other was a bluish white. What kind of metals are these? Asked Dustin. One is called titanium, which lighter than steel and 100 times stronger. The other one is called adamantium, which is a lot stronger than the titanium. When you melt them down and mix them together, the result is a metal that is indestructible and has a razor-sharp edge once forged into a weapon, said Eric. It will take me until tomorrow for me to finish making your weapons out of these metals. But you can look around the store to see if there is anything else that catches your eyes, said Dustin. With that, Eric looked around the store. He saw all kinds of weapons but none that he liked. Just as he was about to use the card that the Hokage gave him to pay for the weapons that were going to be made, he found himself drawn to a corner of the store and saw a weapon he never thought he would see. Staring back at him was the dragon dagger that he once saw the Green Ranger use on the news to call the Dragon Zord when he was younger. Excuse, but where did you obtain this weapon from? Asked Eric. Dustin looked up and saw that Eric was looking at the dragon dagger. I found that in the forest about 7 years ago. I tried to sell it many times but no one seemed to want it, replied Dustin. I will take it then. It might come in handy, said Eric. With that, he took the dragon dagger off the display and went to the counter. He then gave Dustin the card and paid for his weapons. He then walked out of the store. Eric then decided to find a place to eat before he head to his apartment to rest for the night. After 2 hours of looking for a place to eat, Eric ended up bumping into Sakura. "Watch where you're going, you jerk," shouted Sakura. "Sorry about bumping into you, miss," said Eric. Sakura then looked up and realized it was the boy Eric from the hospital. "You're that kid Eric Myers from the hospital," said Sakura in a shaky voice. "Wait, you're that girl I saw with the nurse. Sorry about scaring you with my blaster," said Eric. "It all right. The Hokage told me and the rest of my team your story and that you were a ninja now," said Sakura. "Yeah, I was place on Team 7. Said Eric. "That is my team, so we are going to be teammates?" said Sakura. "Yeah, we are. Do you know where there is a place to eat?" asked Eric. "There is a ramen stand not far from here. We could go there together to get to know each other better," said Sakura. With that, Sakura led Eric to the ramen stand. When they got there, they saw Naruto eating his 8th bowl of ramen. "Hey Sakura, come sit down," said Naruto. With that, Sakura and Eric sit down next to Naruto. "So what will it be, you two?" asked Ayame. "I will have some barbecue pork ramen," said Sakura. "I will have the same as her," replied Eric. Ayame then went to fill their orders. Naruto then looked over and noticed Eric sitting next to Sakura. "So you're that guy Eric Myers that we found. My name is Naruto, the next Hokage," said Naruto. "Nice to meet you, Naruto," said Eric. "So you're a ninja now and on our team?" asked Naruto. "Yeah, I am," replied Eric. "Well, you better stay out of my way of becoming Hokage," said Naruto. All of a sudden, Sakura drove her fist into Naruto's head, knocking him to the floor. "What was that for?" asked Naruto. "That was for being rude to our new teammate," said Sakura with an angry tone. All of a sudden, Sakura and Naruto heard Eric laughing. "What's so funny?" asked Naruto. "You two remind of the fights that me and my half-brother Ryan Steele used to have when I lived with him and my dad," said Eric. "You have a brother?" asked Sakura, confused. "Well, half-brother. We have the same father but different mothers," replied Eric. "What was he like?" asked Naruto, curious. "Well, he used to be part of a team of superheroes called the VR Troopers. When they defeated Grimlord, Ryan gave me his virtualizer as a good luck charm," said Eric, pointing to a necklace that had a gold pendant with a gold crystal on top of it hanging around his neck. "Does it still work?" asked Sakura. "Well, I can't use to transform into a VR trooper, but I can use the power to boost the powers of my Quantum Ranger form," answered Eric. "Man, Eric, you had quite the interesting life. Where you come from?" said Naruto. With that, Eric and Sakura's ramen was served. After they finished their meals, Eric told Sakura and Naruto he would see them in the morning at Training Ground 7 to meet the rest of the team. With that, he wished them good night and headed towards his apartment. When he got there, he opened the door and went up to his room. He then put all his cloths away and washed his Silver Guardian's uniform. He finally put his pajamas on. He then got in bed and fell to sleep. Next morning, Eric woke up early and got out of bed. He quickly took a shower and brushed his teeth. He then put on his Silver Guardian's uniform and tied his headband around his left arm. He then went downstairs and ate breakfast. After eating breakfast, Eric decided to head to the Wolfclaw weapons store to pick up his weapons. He went out the door and walked to the store. After 20 minutes of walking, Eric finally reached the store and went inside. Dustin was at the counter getting ready to start the workday when he saw the door open and saw Eric come in. "Good morning, Eric," said Dustin. "Good morning, sir. Are my weapons all done?" asked Eric. "Your weapons are all set. Just wait right here while I go got them," replied Dustin. With that, Dustin went into the back to get Eric his weapons. After only waiting 10 minutes, Dustin came back carrying Eric's weapons and their sheaths. "You know, Eric, you have a talent for drawing weapons. It was hard work making them, but I think I did a good job," said Dustin. With that, Dustin handed Eric the weapons. Eric decided to look at his custom-made weapons to admire the craftsmanship. The Celtic sword was 6 feet long and had a picture of a griffin surrounded by flames in front of the Egyptian pyramid and the Egyptian sphinx with sunbeams coming down on it, and the sun had the eye of Ra in the middle. The Ka bar knife looked the same as the Marines used. There was even a compass on the handle. The blade had the symbols of all the military branches, and next to it was an American flag shield with a bald eagle with the wings spread out behind the shield, and inside the shield was a picture of the Twin Towers in the New York City skyline with another bald eagle soaring overhead, and above it was the date September 11, 2001 with the words, "We will never forget," below the date, and with the symbols of the New York Fire and Police Departments below the words. The dragon-headed katana had a white dragon's head and the blade was snow white. On the blade was a picture of the Eastern Dragon and a Western Dragon wrap around a sword surrounded by flames and a pile of gold and gemstones on the bottom of the picture. Eric's kuni knives and shuriken were all black as night and had pictures of a lion and tiger underneath a full moon. "You done an excellent job making these weapons, sir. I can tell you put a lot of love and effort into making them. Thanks a lot," said Eric. "You're very welcome, Eric," replied Dustin. Eric put the Celtic sword on his back in its sheath. He then strapped the katana to his left side and strapped the Ka-bar knife to his right leg. Finally he put his kuni and shuriken into his weapons pouch and strapped it to his right side. Before Eric left, Dustin gave him some paper bombs and wished him good luck as a ninja. When Eric got out of the store he looked at a clock to see what time it was. "It's already 11:30. I better got going to meet the rest of my team," shouted Eric. With that, Eric ran a ninja streak towards the training ground to meet the rest of Team 7. He managed to make it in 5 minutes and stop in front of Sakura and Naruto. Eric noticed they had a look of amazement on their faces. "Hey you guys," said Eric. "Good morning, Eric," said Sakura. "Hey Eric, do you think you can teach me to ninja streak?" asked Naruto. "I don't think so, Naruto. It takes a year to learn ninja streaking," replied Eric. "Oh Eric, I want to introduce you to Sasuke," said Sakura pointing to Sasuke. "Hi there Sasuke. The name's Eric Myers," said Eric holding out his hand in greeting. "Whatever you say, loser," replied Sasuke. All of a sudden Naruto and Sakura saw Eric with a look of anger and disgust on his face. Eric then took his sunglasses off and his eyes looked like they were on fire and seemed to burn a hole in Sasuke. "You know what, Sasuke? You remind of the rich kids I had to deal with in prep school. You think the world revolves around you and accept to get everything handed to you on a silver platter. But you're nothing more than a spoiled lil brat that pouts and is mean to everyone when something does not go your way. And the truth is you are not the best ninja in the world like you think you are," said Eric with hatred and venom in his voice. "What the hell did you just say to me?" demanded Sasuke. "You know what I said to you, jerk," replied Eric. "Do you have any idea who I am?" asked Sasuke. "Yeah, the Hokage told me what happened to your clan, but it is not an excuse to be mean to others and treat them like dirt," said Eric. "How about we settle this with a spar to see who is stronger," said Sasuke. "Then you're on," replied Eric. Before Eric and Sasuke could even prepare to face each other, they were both blown to the ground by a gust of wind. "That's enough, you two," said a voice shouting. Eric quickly got to his feet and saw a man with silver hair wearing a mask hiding the bottom of his face and with one part of his headband covering his left eye. He had a look of anger on him. "Who are you?" asked Eric. "The name's Kakashi and I am your Jonin teacher," said Kakashi. "Why did you have to interrupt our spar, Kakashi?" asked Sasuke. "Because one, you two should not be sparing out of anger, and two, giving Eric's battle experience as leader of the Silver Guardians and his past training. You would have lost in less than a minute fighting him," replied Kakashi. "Well, since that's settled, how about you tell me your likes and dislikes as well as your gold, Eric?" asked Kakashi looking at Eric. "Well, I have a few likes that I will not name. I have only one dislike and his name happens to be Wesley Collins. And my goal is to one day to form the Silver Guardians here to help protect this village from harm," said Eric. "That is very interesting, Eric. But before we get to the mission, I want you to spar with me with the intent to kill," said Kakashi. "Kakashi-sensei, why do you want to battle with Eric?" asked Naruto. "It is because I want to test his skills against mine," replied Kakashi. "That sounds very reasonable, Kakashi-sensei," said Sakura. "So Eric, you think you can beat me?" asked Kakashi. "I don't even have to move from this spot to beat you, Kakashi-sensei," replied Eric. Everyone was wondering what Eric meant, when all of a sudden Eric's body was covered in a blue fire-like aura with what looked like an image of a shark in the middle of it. All of a sudden a blur of light blue came out of nowhere and threw Kakashi backwards into the ground. When Kakashi got to his feet, he saw in front of him the Jungle Fury Shark Ranger ready to battle. "So this must be your Spirit Ranger technique that the Hokage told me about," said Kakashi. "Yes, it is. So ready to lose," replied Eric. With that, Eric got into a fighting stance and the Shark Ranger did the same thing. The Shark Ranger then charged Kakashi head-on. Kakashi managed to block the Shark Ranger's fist, but Eric did a sweeping kick and the Shark Ranger did the same thing, knocking Kakashi off his feet again. "I guess this is going to be harder than it looks," said Kakashi. Kakashi then lifted his headband up, revealing his Sharingan. He then made a hand sign and said, "Shadow Clone Jutsu." With a poof of smoke, there was now 30 Kakashis. "You will not win this battle, Eric," said all the Kakashis together. "Don't bet on it," replied Eric. With that said, all the Kakashis pulled out kuni knives and attacked the Shark Ranger. Eric did kicks and punches and the Shark Ranger did the same thing, slowly taking out the shadow clones one by one until there was only the real Kakashi left. Eric then did a flying kick, which the Shark Ranger did too, and made contact with Kakashi, sending him to the ground. "Got you," said Eric. All of a sudden Kakashi disappeared into smoking, leaving a log in his place. "What a substitution jutsu. So where is the real Kakashi?" asked Eric. After thinking real quick, Eric snapped his fingers. "Of course he is hiding underground to catch me by surprise, but it will not work," said Eric. Eric then raised his leg up and the Shark Ranger did the same thing. Eric then brought his leg down hard to the ground. When the Shark Ranger did the same thing, the ground shook and big chunks of earth flew into the air, revealing Kakashi with a look of pure shock on his face. "Very impressive, Eric. You leave me no choice but to use my most powerful jutsu," said Kakashi. Kakashi then put his arm down and focused all his chakra into it. Lighting then appeared in his hand. "This jutsu is called the Chidori and it spells the end of your Spirit Ranger," said Kakashi. "My Spirit Ranger has a finishing move to Kakashi-sensei," replied Eric. All of a sudden the fin blades appeared in the Shark Ranger's hands. The fin blades glowed blue and the Shark Ranger charged Kakashi, who charged the Shark Ranger with his Chidori. When the two clashed, the Shark Ranger's finishing move cancelled out Kakashi's Chidori and slashed Kakashi so hard. Kakashi fell to the ground exhausted and losing a good amount of chakra too. "Looks like I win this battle, Kakashi-sensei," smiled Eric. The Shark Ranger then picked up Kakashi and disappeared into blue smoke. "Very impressive, Eric, using your Spirit Ranger to defeat me. Something tells me you make Jonin or even Enbu one day with your skills," said Kakashi. "Thanks a lot, Kakashi-sensei," replied Eric. "You okay, Kakashi-sensei?" asked Sakura. "Yeah, just had the wind knock out of me," replied Kakashi. "Man, Kakashi-sensei, Eric took you out no problem," said Naruto. "That was just pure dumb luck," said Sasuke, who was angry that Eric processed so much power. "Okay, settle down you four. It's time to begin the mission," said Kakashi. "What is the mission?" asked Sakura. "Well, this mission is an important one and needs to be done quickly," said Kakashi, smiling under his mask. "Raven, have you spotted the target yet?" asked Naruto. "No, I have not, Fox," replied Sasuke over his earphone. "How about you, Tiger?" asked Naruto over his earphone. "That is a negative, Fox," said Sakura. "Q-Rex, have you seen the target yet?" asked Sakura. "Yeah, it is to the right of Fox," said Eric over his headset. All of a sudden a blur of orange fur ran past Naruto. "I see the target. I am going in for the capture," replied Naruto, who then lunged for the orange blur. All of a sudden the rest of Team 7 heard Naruto screaming bloody murder. They then headed towards where the screaming was coming from. When they got there, they saw Naruto holding the cat as it was clawing him. "Have you four acquired the target yet?" asked Kakashi over his earphone. "Yeah, we got the target," replied Eric, holding back his laughter. "Can any of you guys get this crazy cat off me?" shouted Naruto. With that they headed back to meet up with Kakashi. As they were walking, Eric started to feel dizzy and lightheaded. "Eric, are you alright?" asked Sakura, concerned. "Yeah, I am fine, Sakura, just a little dizzy from chasing the cat," answered Eric with a smile. "Well, we better hurry up and meet Kakashi so we can report to the Hokage," said Sasuke. With that they continued on back to meet Kakashi. After 10 minutes they saw Kakashi leaning on a tree looking at them. Good work you four completing the mission. Now let's head back to the Hokage to get our next mission, said Kakashi. With that Team 7 headed to the Hokage's tower. When they got there they handed the cat over to the lady who then started to hug it tight. That's what that stupid cat gets for clawing me, said Naruto laughing. I kind of feel sorry for that cat, said Sakura. Yeah, no wonder it ran away, replied Eric. The lady then paid the Hokage and left. The Hokage then looked at a paper and at Team 7. Good work completing the mission. Now next mission is to clean up the streets, said Sarutobi. Come on old man. Enough of these stupid missions. I want a real ninja mission, shouted Naruto. Naruto, mind your manners, said Kakashi. I agree with Naruto. Kakashi-sensei. Most of these missions is something a regular person could do, said Sakura. There is a reason why we are given low-rank missions, said Kakashi. What is it? Asked Sakura. It is about building teamwork, replied Sarutobi. What does that mean? Asked Sasuke. It means Sasuke, the more we work as a team the more higher-ranking missions we get, replied Eric. Eric is correct, Sasuke. You four are new genin and need to work on teamwork before getting any higher-ranking missions. But since Naruto is eager for a real ninja mission, how about a C-rank mission? What do you think, Kakashi? Said Sarutobi. I think it will help them become a better team and I would like to see Eric in action since I think he is ready for a challenge, replied Kakashi. Then your mission is to escort the bridge builder Tazuna to the land of waves, said Sarutobi. With that, an old man came in who appeared to be drunk and angry. Where is my escort? Demanded Tazuna. There in front of you, said Sarutobi. What, you got to be kidding me, they're nothing but a bunch of kids, shouted Tazuna. You better watch what you say, old man, said Naruto. Naruto, calm down, said Sakura. You are well protected, Tazuna. My team is ready for anything, said Kakashi. Well, you better be right, replied Tazuna. Kakashi, your team will leave tomorrow at 9 o'clock from the gates to escort Tazuna back to his home, said Sarutobi. You heard him, team, go home and prepare for the mission tomorrow and meet at the gates at 8 o'clock sharp, shouted Kakashi. With that, Kakashi leave Team 7 alone to prepare for the mission. Hey, you guys want to go to the ramen stand to eat before we head to our homes? Asked Naruto. Sorry, Naruto. I got to head home before my mom worries about me, said Sakura. I don't feel like hanging out with you, Dobi, replied Sasuke. You can count me in, Naruto, said Eric. Thanks, Eric, said Naruto. With that, Eric and Naruto said goodnight to Sakura and Sasuke and headed towards the ramen stand. As they were walking, Eric noticed that the villagers were staring at Naruto and calling him demon under their breath. After 10 minutes they reached the ramen stand and sat down. What will it be tonight? Asked Ayame. I will a bowl of barbecue pork ramen, said Naruto. I will have the same as him, replied Eric as Ayame waited to fill their orders. Naruto noticed Eric was looking at him. What's the matter, Eric? Asked Naruto. Well, Naruto, I saw some villagers stare at you and called you demon and wanted to know why, replied Eric. It is because 12 years ago a 9-tailed fox demon attacked our village until the 4th Hokage killed it. I happened to be born that day and because of my whisker marks the villagers see as the demon, said Naruto. Man, Naruto, I am sorry that the villagers treat you like that, said Eric. Thanks a lot, Eric, replied Naruto. With that, Ayame came and served them their ramen. As they were eating, Naruto decided to ask Eric a question. Hey Eric, mind if I ask you a question? Asked Naruto. I don't mind, Naruto. Ask away, said Eric. Well, you told us about your brother and father. But what was your mother like? Asked Naruto. Well, Naruto, she was a special person in more ways than one and she was always there to look out for me even if I felt like I failed her, replied Eric. Man, Eric, she sounds like a special person. I wish I had a mom and dad like you, said Naruto. Well, I guess I was lucky to have them, replied Eric. Where is your family right now? Asked Naruto. I don't feel like saying anything more about my family right now, replied Eric with a sad tone. Why did something bad happen to them? Asked Naruto. It is a personal matter, Naruto, and I just don't feel like talking about it right now, said Eric. Okay, Eric, the first will drop the subject, said Naruto. With that, they went back to eating their ramen. After they finished their meal and paid for it, Eric got up and all of a sudden felt dizzy and lightheaded again like earlier on the mission. "Eric, are you okay?" asked Naruto. "Yeah, I am alright Naruto, just probably ate too fast," replied Eric. "I think you should head home and rest Eric before the mission tomorrow," said Naruto. "I take your advice Naruto. I head home and rest," replied Eric. "Okay then, see you in the morning Eric," said Naruto. "You too Naruto," replied Eric, shaking Naruto's hand. With that, Eric headed for his apartment. When Eric reached his apartment and got inside, he went right upstairs and started to pack for the mission tomorrow. He put some cloths in his sub-pocket dimension, made sure his Silver Guardian's uniform was washed and dry for the mission tomorrow. He then looked his weapons over and suddenly stopped when he looked at his Ka-bar knife. It looked similar to the knife his uncle once used in the Vietnam War and every war he was in. He remembered his uncle teaching Eric everything that he learned as a Green Beret and saying the training was to help keep Eric safe from danger and kill his enemies if they tried to kill him. Eric remembered something that his uncle taught him 9 years ago. Flashback 9 years ago, Ocean Buff. "Okay Eric, the first I'm going to teach how to kill your enemy with a knife quick and swift before they know what hit them," said a man that wore a green t-shirt and blue jeans with black combat boots. His hair was curly black hair that came down to his shoulders with a red piece of cloth wrapped around his head. He had dog tags on with the name John Rambo on them. "Uncle John, what is the purpose of teaching me this for?" asked 12-year-old Eric. "It is to protect you from the Darklighters and every one of my former enemies," said a woman who had long blonde hair streaked with silver. Her eyes were green and she wore blue jeans with a red t-shirt and white sneakers on her feet. "But why, Mom, do your enemies want with me?" asked Eric. "It is because you're special. Isn't that right, Alexis?" said John to his sister. "Your uncle is right, Eric. You are special because you are half Whitelighter and part immortal, since your grandfather Duncan is immortal," replied Alexis to her son. "I know, but you're not a Whitelighter anymore, Mom. So why do the Darklighters and demons keep on attacking us for?" asked Eric, confused. "It is because of what I did while I was a Whitelighter until I met your dad and had you," said Alexis. "I guess that is understandable," replied Eric. "Since that's settled, how about we get back to your training, Eric?" said John. "Okay, Uncle John," replied Eric. With John took his knife and stabbed the dummy in the chest and slashed the dummy across the chest, leaving a deep gash on it. "Okay, Eric. Now it is your turn," said John, handing Eric the knife. With that, Eric took the knife and did the same thing as he uncle showed him to the dummy. "Good job, Eric," said John, looking at Eric. "Thanks a lot, Uncle John," replied Eric. End of flashback. After coming back to reality, Eric put his knife back in its sheath. He then finished packing the rest of his stuff. He finally put on his pajamas and went to sleep. That night Eric had a dream. He dreamt that he was back in his childhood home. "Eric," said a voice in the room. "Who is there?" asked Eric. "Eric," said the voice again. "Show yourself now," said Eric, pulling out his blaster. All of a sudden a light appeared in the room. When it faded, a woman was standing in the room looking at Eric. "Hello, my son," said the woman. "Mom, what are you doing in my dream?" asked Eric, confused. "I came to tell you something important, Eric," said Alexis. "What is it?" asked Eric. "I came to tell you that your powers have been reawakened, Eric," replied Alexis. "But how?" "I bind my powers when I was 15 so I could live a normal life," said Eric, confused. "You did, Eric. But you see, when you were sent here by that accident, your powers were unbind and there is no way to bind them again," said Alexis. "You mean there is no way to bind my powers again?" asked Eric. "I am afraid it is true, Eric," said Alexis. "So what do I do now?" asked Eric. "I think you should start using your powers to help the people of this ninja village and protect your new friends," replied Alexis. "I think you are right, Mom," said Eric. "Before I go, Eric, the first got one more thing to say," said Alexis. "What is it?" asked Eric. "I wanted to say I am proud of you for being the Quantum Ranger and becoming a ninja of this world to protect it, and that no matter what you will always be my son, and I love you," said Alexis. "I love you too, Mom," replied Eric. With that, Eric woke up in his bed with a cold sweat. "Man, what a dream," said Eric in a shaky voice. Something told Eric that it wasn't just a dream but a message from his mother. He decided to see if his powers had been reawakened like his mother said. Eric took out his bar knife and made a deep cut on his arm with it. Gold light appeared around the cut, and in less than a second the cut healed without leaving traces of blood or a scar where Eric had cut his arm. Eric then looked his clock and found out it was only 5:30 a.m. Eric decided to get up and get ready for the mission since he was awake now. He took a shower and brushed his teeth. He then put on his Silver Guardian's uniform and strap on his weapons and went downstairs and ate his breakfast. After Eric ate his breakfast, he looked at the clock again and read it was now 6:30 a.m. Eric decided to head the meeting place early by orbing so he could get some training done. Eric then got up and contracted real hard and suddenly disappeared into sparkling white light and reappeared 1 second later outside the gates of the village. While since I have a few hours to wait for the others, I should do some training with my katana, said Eric to himself. With that, Eric took out his katana from its sheath and started to slash and block like he was fighting someone. As Eric was practicing, he looked at his katana and remembered one of the times his grandfather was teaching him how to use a sword to protect himself from his grandfather's enemies. Flashback Crossworld City 8 years ago. Inside Dao's dojo, 18-year-old Ryan Steele was sitting next to the immortal watcher Joe Dawson as his half-brother Eric Myers was trading sword blows with their grandfather. "Come on Eric, you have to try harder if you want to get better than me," said a man with a Scottish accent who appeared to be about 30 years old but was really over 400 years old. He wore a white t-shirt with blue jeans and black sneakers. His long black hair was tied into a ponytail and he was looking at Eric. "Come on Grandpa. I am trying my best," said 13-year-old Eric. "Calm down Eric. You need to pay attention to what grandfather is trying to teach you," said Ryan. "Yeah Eric. This is training is to make sure you are prepared in case you encounter a mortal. Right Duncan?" said Joe. "Ryan and Joe are right Eric. Since you're part immortal, you will have to learn to defend yourself from immortals who would want to kill you," said Duncan. "But how come I am part immortal and Ryan and Dad aren't?" asked Eric confused. "It is because since your mom was a whitelighter until after you were born Eric. Your willighter powers activated the immortal gene that lay dormant in your dad and brother, making you part immortal," explained Joe. "But why would immortals try to kill me anyways?" asked Eric. "It is because grandfather is the only immortal to have kids and they would kill you to get back at grandfather out of revenge," replied Ryan. "I understand it now. This training is to keep me safe," said Eric. "That is right Eric. Now are you ready to continue with your training?" said Duncan. "Yes I am Grandpa, and I promise one day I will be better than you," replied Eric with a smile. End flashback. Eric continued to practice with his katana until an hour and a half later the rest of Team 7 and Tazuna showed up. Sakura noticed that Eric was very skilled with a sword as she watched Eric practice with his katana. "Good morning Eric," shouted Naruto. "Good morning to all of you," replied Eric. "Eric, where did you get your weapons from?" asked Sakura. "Oh, these I had made at the Wolf Claw out of 2 metals I brought with me from my earth," replied Eric. "What's so special about these 2 metals?" asked Sasuke, curious. "Well, by themselves they are stronger than steel. But combined they make a metal that is indestructible and has a razor-sharp edge once forged into a weapon," said Eric. "How sharp?" asked Kakashi, curious. "It is sharp enough to cut clean through pure diamond like it was not there in one slice," replied Eric. "Man, that is sharp," said Naruto with a shudder. "That is good, but can we get going? My bridge will not build itself, you know," shouted Tazuna. "Okay team, let's get the move on," commanded Kakashi. With that, Team 7 headed out towards the land of waves. Sakura and Eric covered the rear while Sasuke and Naruto covered the middle, and finally Kakashi covered the front. As they were walking, Kakashi noticed a puddle on the ground. "That's strange, it has not been rain for days, which means this is a trap," thought Kakashi. Eric was wondering why Kakashi stopped when he shouted, "Everybody protect Tazuna now." All of a sudden 2 masked ninja with metal claws on one hand came out of the bushes and attacked Kakashi, who fell to the ground dead. The ninja then came after Team 7. "Naruto, Sakura, you two protect Tazuna. Sasuke, you and me will take care of these ninja," ordered Eric. With that, Eric and Sasuke started to do battle with the ninja. Eric took out some kuni and threw it at one of the ninja. The kuni hit the ninja, making him fall the ground and covered by smoke, revealing to be a log. "What a substitution jutsu! So where did he go?" shouted Eric. "Somebody help!" shouted Sakura, frozen in fear as the ninja came towards her. Eric quickly took out his bar knife and disappeared in a blur. Sakura was frozen in fear as the ninja came towards her with his metal claw hand out ready to strike. All of a sudden Sakura saw Eric come out of nowhere standing in front of her and watch as the ninja metal claw strike Eric in the chest, leaving 3 claw marks on him. Eric then quickly took his knife and stabbed the ninja in the chest by surprise and sliced the knife across the ninja's chest like his uncle John taught him, leaving a big gash on the ninja's chest, who then fell to the ground dead. "Oh my god, Eric, are you alright?" asked Sakura, running towards her teammate worried. "Yeah, I'm fine, Sakura. He just tore my shirt," replied Eric. "What do you mean? I saw that ninja leave claw marks on your skin," said Sakura. Sakura then looked at where the ninja got Eric and saw there was no claw marks or blood where she saw the ninja strike Eric. "I am sure that ninja left some claw marks on your skin, Eric," said Sakura, surprised. "I guess you were mistaken, Sakura. As you can see, only my shirt got claw," replied Eric. Eric then took his hand in place over his shirt and started to chant a spell, and a mystic spell seal appeared and his shirt was fixed. At that moment Naruto and Sasuke came over with Tazuna to check on Eric and Sakura. "Sakura, Eric, are you two alright?" asked Naruto. "Yeah, we're fine, Naruto, thanks to Eric," replied Sakura. "Looks like you took care of that other ninja, Sasuke," said Eric. "Yeah, I did. But what do we do without Kakashi?" asked Sasuke. "Oh, I wouldn't worry about me," said Kakashi, appearing from the bushes alive. "Kakashi-sensei, you're alive," shouted Naruto. "Of course I am alive, Naruto," replied Kakashi. "But we saw those ninja kill you," said Sakura. "You used the substitution jutsu to get away, didn't Kakashi-sensei?" said Eric. "You are correct, Eric," replied Kakashi. "But why did you hide and not help us, Kakashi?" asked Sasuke. "Because I wanted to see if you four could handle them yourself and to see if they were after us or something else," said Kakashi. "So what were they after?" asked Sakura. "They were after our friend the bridge builder," replied Kakashi, looking at Tazuna. "What makes you think they were after me?" asked Tazuna, shouting. "Because when I was hiding, I saw that they were trying to kill Sakura to get to you. Now tell us the truth, why you hire us for a C rank mission instead of a B or rank mission like this should be class, or we will leave you here by yourself," replied Kakashi, giving Tazuna a cold stare. With that, Tazuna explained that his land had become poor since a man named Gato took over the shipping business and killed anyone who stood up to him and wanted him dead, so the bridge would not get finished and ruin his plans, and that getting ninja to help was the only way to get rid of Gato, and all they could afford was a C rank mission. He begged Kakashi to help him and his land get rid of Gato once and for all. "I don't know if me and my team should help you, as you paid us for a C rank mission and this is clearly a B or rank mission. What do you four think we should do?" said Kakashi. "I say we go and get rid of this Gato," said Naruto. "I was getting sick of these D rank missions anyways, so I say count me in," said Sasuke. "I agree with Naruto. Tazuna needs our help," replied Sakura. "And what about you, Eric?" asked Kakashi. "I handled worse mutant criminals than this Gato. So I say if Tazuna and his people need our help, then we should go," said Eric. "Well, looks like we will escort you back to the Land of Waves and help your people," said Kakashi. "Thank you," replied Tazuna. With that, Team 7 continued back on their way to the Land of Waves. Meanwhile, inside a cave in the Land of Waves, Gato was talking to a man with the bottom of his face covered in bandages and had a huge sword on his back. "Zabuza, your ninja have failed to kill Tazuna and the ninja he hired. You said that you and your ninja were the best, so what do you plan on doing now?" shouted Gato. "Since my ninja have failed, I plan on taking care of Tazuna and these ninja he hired myself. So don't worry yourself, Gato. I will still kill Tazuna like you paid me to do," said Zabuza. "You better not fail me this time, Zabuza, or I will not pay you anymore," replied Gato as he left. Meanwhile, Team 7 were heading to the Land of Waves in a new formation. Naruto and Sasuke were guarding the rear while Eric and Sakura were now guarding the middle with Kakashi still in the front. As they were walking, Tazuna decided to ask Eric a question. "So Eric, you're not originally from the Hidden Leaf Village, are you?" asked Tazuna, curious. "No, I come from a place called Silver Hills that is on a different Earth in another universe. I used to be leader of a group called the Silver Guardians before I came to the village and became a ninja," replied Eric. How did you ended up here on this earth? Asked Tazuna. I came here as a result of an accident that happened at Biolab. It sent me through the fabric of space-time and turned me back into a 12-year-old kid, said Eric. So how old did you used to be? Asked Tazuna. I was 21 years old before the accident, replied Eric. With that said, they continued to walk in silence. After 2 more hours of walking, Team 7 came to a pier with a man waiting in a boat. Tazuna, you made and you brought the ninja, said the man. Yes, I did, and now Gato will be finished for good, replied Tazuna. With that said, everyone got into the boat and sat down. The man then untied the boat and they sailed off towards the land of waves. As they were sailing, Sakura saw Eric looking at his Ka-bar knife and noticed the images on it and the date September 11, 2011 with the words, "We will never forget," written below it, and decided to ask Eric what they meant. Eric, can I ask you a question? Asked Sakura. Sure, Sakura, ask away, replied Eric. What does the images and the date September 11, 2001 on your knife with the words, "We will never forget," represent? Asked Sakura, curious. At that moment, Team 7 saw that Eric had a sad and solemn look on his face. Eric, are you alright? Asked Naruto, worried. I am fine, Naruto, just that the question Sakura asked me is bringing back some sad memories of what happened on that date with was just a 1.5 ago, said Eric with a sad tone. So what happened on that date? Asked Sasuke. That date is the date that my country was attacked by terrorists, replied Eric. Please tell us what happened, Eric? Asked Kakashi. Well, it happened in the morning when I was getting ready to go to work. I turned on the news and it said that an airplane had just crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center. I sat there watching. A few minutes later, another plane crashed into the other tower, setting it on fire. 3 hours later, a third plane hit the Pentagon, and finally a couple of hours later, a fourth and final plane crashed into a field in Pennsylvania. I watch as the towers fall to the ground in a heap of smoke and ash, said Eric. How many people died? Asked Sakura, scared. It was in the thousands, including hundreds of police and firefighters that went into the towers to save as many people as they could, replied Eric. That's way worse than when the Kyuubi attacked the village. Only about 200 people died, said Kakashi, shocked. While it only got worse for me, said Eric. What do you mean? Asked Naruto. My mother worked in the first tower that got hit and she was on the top floor, so she died when the plane hit. My dad and my half-brother Ryan were on the flight that crashed into the field. They were on the flight coming to see me for the week. They called me on my dad's cell phone and said that they were going to fight back against the terrorist on the plane and crash it before it hit the White House where the president lived. Before they hang up, they said they were proud of me for becoming the Quantum Ranger and they would always be with me in spirit. They died as heroes, said Eric, who then broke down in tears remembering that day. Eric the First, I'm so sorry for what happened to you, said Sakura, giving Eric a hug, comforting him. So that why you didn't want to talk more about your family when we were at the ramen stand, said Naruto, feeling sorry for Eric. Eric the First, I'm so sorry for us bringing up these sad memories for you, said Kakashi. It okay, Kakashi-sensei. It feels good to finally talk about, replied Eric. Well, since that's over with, can we focus on the mission? Said Sasuke. With that said, they continued to sail in silence. After 3 hours, they finally came to the land of waves and landed at a dock. Okay, everybody got out and let's get the move on, shouted Kakashi. With that, Team 7 got out of the boat and thanked the boatman. They then started towards Tazuna House. As they were walking, Eric started to have a feeling they were being watched. Hey Kakashi-sensei, shouted Eric. What is it, Eric? Asked Kakashi. Do you have a feeling like we are being watched? Asked Eric. Yeah, I do feel like we are being watched, replied Kakashi. If we are being watched, then I will take them out myself, said Naruto. Oh, like what you did when we were attacked by those ninja, replied Sasuke. You making fun of me, Sasuke? Shouted Naruto. Naruto, leave Sasuke alone, and besides I saw you frozen in fear like I was from seeing those ninja, said Sakura. Well, that was then and this is now, replied Naruto. Can you two be quiet? I thought I heard something coming from the bushes, said Eric. Just as Eric said that, the bushes started to move. Naruto quickly took out a kuni and threw it into the bushes. A few seconds later, a white rabbit came out of the bushes with Naruto's kuni stuck in its back, now dead. Great, Naruto, you killed the innocent rabbit, said Sakura. Oh no, you mean I killed a rabbit, shouted Naruto. With that, Naruto ran over to the rabbit and started to shout he was sorry for killing it. Eric meanwhile looked at the rabbit and felt something was not right about it and decided to tell Kakashi. Kakashi-sensei, I need to tell you something, said Eric. What is it? Asked Kakashi. Well, I may not be an expert on rabbits, but isn't it the wrong time of year for it to have a white coat? Said Eric. You're right, Eric. This one was raised indoors, which means this is a trap, replied Kakashi. Kakashi then shouted to the rest of Team 7 to protect Tazuna and get down. They got down just in time to see a huge sword come flying over their heads and embed itself in a tree. When they got up, they saw Zabuza standing on the sword looking down at them. Well, if it isn't Kakashi the copy ninja. No wonder my ninja failed to kill Tazuna, said Zabuza. Let me guess, you must be Zabuza, a missing ninja and one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist wanted by the village hidden in the mist for crimes of treason, am I right? Replied Kakashi. You are correct, Kakashi. I have no reason to fight you and your ninja, all I want is the bridge builder Tazuna, said Zabuza. You will have to get through me to get to Tazuna, said Kakashi. You must be a fool to face me, Kakashi, replied Zabuza. Kakashi then turned to his students and said, I want you 4 to protect Tazuna while I take care of this guy. But we can help you, Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto. I need you 4 to protect Tazuna, and besides, this guy is a Jonin level ninja and is above what you can handle, replied Kakashi. I agree with Naruto, you are going to need all the help you can get, said Eric. I know you can handle Zabuza, Eric, but I need you to protect Tazuna with the others in case I fail, said Kakashi. How do you on beating him, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Sakura. I have my secret weapon, replied Kakashi, lifting up his headband, revealing the Sharingan. Are you done talking to your students, Kakashi, or do I have to kill them too? Said Zabuza. You're the one that going to die here, Zabuza, replied Kakashi, taking out a kuni. I don't think so, Kakashi, replied Zabuza. With that, they charge each other. Zabuza did some hand size and said, water style hidden mist jutsu, and the area was covered in fog. Come on out, Zabuza, and face me like a ninja, said Kakashi. Zabuza then came out of the mist with his sword ready to strike Kakashi. Kakashi quickly moved out of the way and took his kuni and struck Zabuza in the chest, and he turned into water. What a water clone! So where is he? Wondered Kakashi. Right behind you, Kakashi, said Zabuza. Kakashi turned to around and saw Zabuza quickly swing his sword at him. Kakashi managed to duck out of the way. Kakashi got back up but felt a pain in his side and revel he had being struck by the sword and was bleeding pretty bad. Kakashi quickly looked to see where Zabuza was and saw that Zabuza was behind his students. You guys look behind you, shouted Kakashi. Team 7 heard Kakashi yelling at them to look behind them. When they looked behind them, they saw Zabuza getting to kill Tazuna. All of a sudden, Kakashi came out of nowhere and struck Zabuza with a kuni. Zabuza then turned into water, reveling to be a water clone again. Another water clone. So where is he? Said Kakashi. Right here, Kakashi, said Zabuza. Zabuza then struck Kakashi, who turned out to be a water clone. Using my own jutsu against me. So where are you hiding? Said Zabuza. Right behind you, said Kakashi. With that, Kakashi charged Zabuza and chased him onto a body of water. Give it up, Zabuza, you lose, said Kakashi. On the contrary, Kakashi, you fell right into my trap, said Zabuza. What do you mean? Asked Kakashi. Zabuza made some fast hand size and said, water style water prison jutsu. Before Kakashi knew what hit him, he was trapped in a bubble of water. The fog then cleared up and Team 7 saw Zabuza standing next to Kakashi, who was trapped in a bubble of water with one of Zabuza's water clones in front of them. Kakashi-sensei, shouted Sakura. You 4 got Tazuna out of here and find someplace safe, shouted Kakashi. What about you, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. Don't worry about, just got out of here, replied Kakashi. Eric looked at Kakashi and noticed that he had a big gash on his side and needed medical attention. You guys protect Tazuna. I will go get Kakashi-sensei, said Eric. You are crazy, that guy is a Jonin and you are just a genin. How do you plan on beating him? Said Sasuke. Don't worry. I got a plan, replied Eric. I know you can beat this guy, Eric, said Sakura. Yeah, Eric, this guy does not stand a chance against you, said Naruto. Thanks you too. Eric ran over towards Zabuza and had a look of confidence on his face as he looked at Zabuza. So now the little genin thinks he can beat me, said Zabuza looking at Eric. I am going to give you one chance Zabuza to let our sensei go and leave this place, said Eric with an angry tone. I don't think so kid, replied Zabuza. Then you leave me no choice, said Eric. Eric held his arm with his morpher to his face and shouted, Quantum power. Eric was covered in gold light, and when it faded Eric was now the Quantum Ranger, with the only difference now being the dragon dagger was now in a hoister on his right side as well as his Quantum Defender on his left side. Nice trick, but it still will not help, said Zabuza. I am not even done yet, said Eric with his adult voice. All of a sudden two blurs, one red and the other light blue, appeared out of nowhere and stopped next to Eric. Standing next to him was his Spirit Rangers, the Jungle Fury Shark Ranger and the Red Dino Thunder Ranger, looking ready for battle. Face it Zabuza, you met your match, said Eric. With that Eric and the two Spirit Rangers charged Zabuza. The Shark Ranger took out his fin blades and slashed Zabuza water clone, making it disappear. Eric took out his Quantum Defender and converted into its blade mode and took out the Dragon Dagger and put it in his other hand and attacked Zabuza, who let go of the water prison holding Kakashi to avoid Eric's attack. The Red Dino Thunder Ranger meanwhile grabbed Kakashi and set him on the ground and went to join Eric in the fight against Zabuza. Zabuza was having a hard time battling Eric, who was using his weapons to gain the advantage. Just as it could not get any worse for Zabuza, he was attacked by the Shark Ranger and Red Dino Thunder Ranger, who used their weapons to send Zabuza flying into a tree. Zabuza looked to see Eric and the other two Rangers appearing to get set for the final strike. It's all over Zabuza, time to die, said Eric. Eric and the two Spirit Rangers' weapons glowed with light and prepared to finish off Zabuza once and for all. From out of nowhere Zabuza was struck in the neck by needles and fell to the ground dead. What just happened? Asked Eric, confused. At that moment a ninja wearing a mask with the headband of the Hidden Mist Village dropped down from a tree and looked at Eric. I must thank you for keeping Zabuza busy while I prepared to kill him, said the masked ninja. Who are you? Asked Eric. I am a hunter ninja whose job was to track down Zabuza and kill him, replied the masked ninja. How can I tell you are telling the truth? Said Eric. Because he is a hunter ninja Eric, and it's their job to find missing ninja and kill them, said Kakashi, standing up and looking at Eric. Now that is clear up. I must take this body and dispose of it right away, said the masked ninja. With that he picked up Zabuza's body and disappeared in a blur. At that moment the rest of Team 7 came over with Tazuna to check on Eric and Kakashi. Eric, Kakashi sensei, are you two all alright? Asked Sakura. Yeah, I am fine, but I don't know about Kakashi sensei, said Eric, who demorphed and made the two Spirit Rangers disappear. I am just fine, you four, replied Kakashi. All of a sudden Kakashi grabbed his side and fell to the ground in pain. Team 7 then saw the gash on his chest and noticed his had lost a lot of blood. What happened to Kakashi sensei? Asked Naruto, worried. It that cut from Zabuza's sword. He looks like he lost a lot of blood from battling Zabuza and needs medical attention, replied Eric. But there is no hospital anywhere near us and none of us are good with medical, just Sue, said Sasuke. I have something that's even better, said Eric. What is it? Asked Sakura. It's a power I was born with that I got from my mother, and I will explain more when this is all over with and Kakashi is better, replied Eric. Whatever this power is, just use it to save Kakashi sensei, said Naruto. With that said, Eric placed his hand over Kakashi's wound and Team 7 saw his hand glow with a bright white light and the light went on Kakashi's wound. After a few seconds Team 7 looked in surprise as Kakashi's wound close up and healed. When the white light faded, Kakashi woke up and noticed that his team was looking at him surprised. Okay, why are you guys staring at me and what happened to the wound on my side? Asked Kakashi, confused. Well, Kakashi sensei, you fell down to the ground and lost a lot of blood and Eric here healed you using a white light from his hand that healed your wound and now here you are fine and healed, said Sakura. Okay, Eric, care to explain to me how you heal me since you don't know any medical jutsu? Asked Kakashi. While you see, Kakashi sensei, it was a power I was born with that I got from my mother and I will explain it all when we get to Tazuna house, replied Eric. Okay, Eric, we will wait until we get to Tazuna house for you to explain yourself, said Kakashi. With that, Team 7 headed towards Tazuna house and reach it went in 20 minutes. When they got there and went inside, Tazuna introduced them to his daughter Tsunami and his grandson Inari. After the introductions, Kakashi and the rest of Team 7 look at Eric. "Okay Eric, you said you would explain more when we got here, so explain how you did what you did?" asked Kakashi. "Okay, you see I am not just a normal person," said Eric. "What do you mean you aren't normal?" asked Naruto confused. "While you see I am half white lighter and part immortal," replied Eric. "Okay, what is a white lighter and what do you mean you are part immortal?" asked Sasuke. "While a white lighter is also what is considered angel, and my mother was one until I was born when she decided to become human again to raise me," replied Eric. "Your mother was an angel? So what powers does a white lighter have?" asked Sakura curious. "While one is the power to heal any injury no matter how severe or life-threatening, except it can't heal people who died. And the other is the power to teleport anywhere in a second called orbing," said Eric. "That sounds interesting. And how did you become part immortal?" said Naruto. "While my grandfather is an immortal called Duncan MacLeod who looks 30 but is really over 400 years old and is the only immortal to have a child and grandkids since immortals are born sterile. My white lighter powers ended up activating the immortal gene that was dormant in my brother and father, making me part immortal. I have the healing abilities of an immortal, which means any injury or wound I got is healed instantly. But I am still immortal, which means I could still die," said Eric. "So I was right when I saw that ninja leave claw marks on your skin," said Sakura. "Yep, just my healing ability heal the wounds right up," replied Eric. "So Eric, how did you learn to use the sword and use your knife like that?" asked Kakashi. "While my grandfather taught me to use the sword since I could walk, and my uncle John taught me how to kill people as he was a green beret and taught me everything he knew to help defend myself from my mom's enemies," said Eric. "Why would anyone try to harm you, Eric?" asked Naruto. "Because of what my mother did as a white lighter, and my grandfather taught to use the sword to keep me safe from immortals who wanted to kill me to get revenge on my grandfather because he is the only immortal to ever have kids," replied Eric. "Aw Eric, how come you didn't use your powers before?" asked Sakura. "Because I had my powers bind when I was 15 so I could live a normal life until the night after our first mission, when my mother came to me in a dream and told me because of the accident that sent me here my powers had been reawakened and could never be bind again," said Eric. "That is very interesting. But we should get some rest before your training tomorrow to prepare for when Zabuza comes back," said Kakashi. "But Kakashi-sensei, isn't Zabuza dead because of that masked ninja?" asked Naruto. "No, because I remembered now that it is a hunter ninja's job to dispose of a body on sight. Which means that the masked ninja put Zabuza into a death-like state that made him appear dead," said Kakashi. "So how long do we have?" asked Sasuke. "It will be a couple of days for Zabuza to recover from being put into a death-like state. Which gives us a few days to improve your skills," replied Kakashi. With that, they all decide to go to their rooms and rest for the training in the morning. Later that night, Sakura, who was wearing her pink pajamas with white flowers, decided to go to Eric's room and thank him for saving her from the ninja that tried to kill her. She looked at the clock, it read 7 o'clock 0 o'clock. She got out of bed and put on her pink nightrobe and slippers and went out of her room to Eric's room across the hall. When she got to the door, she heard noises coming from Eric's room and heard Eric shouting, "Come on, that was a first down." Sakura knocked at the door and heard Eric ask, "Who is it?" "It me, Sakura. Can I come in?" asked Sakura. "Yeah, just come in," replied Eric. With that, Sakura opened the door and went into Eric's room. When she got in, she saw a couch in front of a big screen TV showing people playing a strange sport and a mini fridge next to the couch. Sakura then saw Eric and noticed he was wearing a massive red t-shirt with a picture of Spider-Man on it, black night pants with Dale Earnhardt's black number 3 race car all over them, and black socks on his feet with the monster truck Gravedigger on them, and was wearing a metal wristwatch on his right wrist with the Batman single in black and yellow on the dial. Sakura then noticed that Eric's body was well-toned and muscular, but not like a bodybuilder, just it looked like he had lifted some weights, and thought he was way more handsome than Sasuke. "Hey Sakura, are you alright?" asked Eric. "Yeah, I am fine, Eric," said Sakura, pushing the dirty thoughts of her and Eric together out of her head. "So what did you want, Sakura?" asked Eric. "I just wanted to tell you thanks for saving me from that ninja earlier," said Sakura. "Oh, you're welcome, Sakura," replied Eric. "Oh Eric, what were you doing before when I was at the door?" asked Sakura curious. Oh, I was just watching a football game on the TV that I made and connected to the programs to my Earth using my magic, said Eric. Is it okay if I stay and watch? Asked Sakura. Sure, I could use the company, replied Eric. With that, Eric and Sakura sat down on the couch and watched the game. Eric explained what football was and how it was played. He also told her that the teams playing were his favorite team, the New England Patriots, the ones in the blue with the silver helmets with a mon's face with the colors red, white and blue on it, against the New York Jets, that was the team in the green and white with white helmets. Eric also explained that the point of the game was to make the playoffs and win the championship game called the Super Bowl to prove who was the best in the world, and it was watched by millions of people. Man, Eric, this is a good game, said Sakura as she watched the Patriots quarterback Tom Bradley throw a touchdown pass to a player in the end zone. Yeah, it is, and I hope the Patriots make it all the way this year and win the Super Bowl, replied Eric. Is there any bigger sports events than this Super Bowl? Asked Sakura curious. The only one is the Olympics Games, said Eric. What are the Olympics? Asked Sakura. It is a group of sporting events that is held every 4 years where the best athletes in the world come together to see who is the best, and is divided into the summer and winter games that are held 2 years apart, and this February is going to be the 2002 Winter Games, which is going to be held in the United States, and I was going to go there to cheer on the USA teams, said Eric. I am so sorry that you are going to miss them, Eric, said Sakura. It's okay, Sakura. I still can watch it on TV, replied Eric. What time is it, Eric? Asked Sakura. It's about 10:30 right now, said Eric, looking his watch. I better got going back to bed to rest for tomorrow's training, said Sakura. Yeah, I should head to bed now too, replied Eric. With that, Sakura got off the couch and started to head out the door and look at Eric. Good night, Eric, see you in the morning, and thanks again for saving me, said Sakura. Good night, Sakura, and again you're welcome, replied Eric. With that, Sakura went out the door and closed it, leaving Eric alone. Eric then turned his TV off and went to bed to get ready for tomorrow's training. The next day, Eric woke up and looked at the clock. It said 5:30 a.m. Eric then got out of bed and turned the TV on in his room and watched the news to see what was going on in Silver Hills since he disappeared. The news reporter came on and said the Power Rangers had put a stop to another mutant criminal and saved the city once again from Rancic. Eric then turned the TV off and decided to get ready for today's training. He went to the bathroom inside the house, took a shower and brushed his teeth, and headed back to his room. When he got back to his room, he put on a pair of black baggy sweatpants with a picture of the Autobot Optimus Prime on one leg and the Autobot symbol on the other leg. A pair of socks with the Punisher on them. A massive black t-shirt with the Ghostbusters logo on it. Black sneakers with the New York Yankees team logo on them. The Lightspeed rescue jacket that he got from the Titanium Ranger Ryan, and a pair of sunglasses identical to the ones Wesley Snipes' character Blade wore in the Blade movie. Eric then went downstairs and saw Tazuna sitting at the table while his daughter Tsunami was making breakfast. Good morning, Eric, said Tsunami. Good morning to the both of you, replied Eric. So what are you doing up so early? Asked Tazuna. I thought I could get some training in before the others get up, said Eric. Well, you better not work too hard because breakfast will be ready in about an hour, said Tsunami. I promise I will take it easy, replied Eric. With that, Eric went out the door and into the front of the house. Eric decided he would spar against 3 of his Spirit Rangers for a challenge. Eric then contracted, and 3 blurs, 1 white, 1 red and another purple, appeared in front of him, and standing around him was the Jungle Fury Rhino, Wolf and Jungle Fury Red Rangers ready for battle. Eric then put his morpher to his face and said, "Quantum power," and he morphed into the Quantum Ranger. Okay, let's see if you 3 can give me a challenge, said Eric to the 3 Spirit Rangers. With that, the Spirit Rangers charged the Quantum Ranger. Meanwhile, the rest of Team 7 had just woken up and went downstairs to find Tsunami still making breakfast. Good morning, you 4, said Tsunami to Team 7. Good morning, said Naruto. Have any of you seen Eric anywhere? Asked Sakura. Yeah, he came down early and went outside to train, replied Tazuna. You seen he just got up and went by himself to train with nobody? Asked Sasuke. Well, I am not surprised Eric went to train. He really wants to get stronger, said Kakashi. I wonder where he is, asked Naruto. As soon as Naruto said that, they heard what sounded like fighting coming from outside. Team 7 quickly went out the door and saw Eric was morph as the Quantum Ranger fighting 3 Spirit Rangers. Eric was holding his own against the 3 Rangers using his Quantum Defender and Dragon Dagger to block the Rangers' weapons and sending them to the ground. Eric decided to end this here and now. He took the Quantum Defender and pressed a button on its side and said, "Quantum Defender freeze strike mode." The blade glowed blue and Eric charged the 3 Spirit Rangers. With 3 slashes of the blade, Eric made the Spirit Rangers disappear into color smoke. Eric then demorphed and looked towards the door and saw the rest of his team looking at him. "Good morning, you guys," said Eric. "Good morning, Eric," said Sakura, blushing at seeing Eric dress in his cloths. "It seems you got a head start on your training," said Kakashi. "Yeah, Eric, you beat up your own Spirit Rangers," said Naruto. "He is just a show-off," said Sasuke with a pout. At that moment Tsunami came and said, "Time for breakfast." With that, Team 7 went into the house to eat breakfast. When they got in, they sat at the table and Tsunami served breakfast. As they were eating, Naruto decided to ask Eric a question. "Hey Eric, can I ask a question?" asked Naruto. "Sure, fire away," replied Eric. "How many Zords do you have under your control?" asked Naruto. "Let me see, there is the Q-Rex, the Rhino Steel Megazord, the Dragon Zord that I just got thanks to finding the Dragon Dagger, and the Battle Fleet Megazord that my dad and his friend built," said Eric. "You mean your dad built you a Zord?" asked Sakura. "Yeah, when I first became the Quantum Ranger before I got the Q-Rex. My dad with his friend Andrew Hartford and the legendary Ranger Tommy Oliver decided to build me my own Megazord since I didn't have one yet. They crossed my dad's VR Trooper technology with Ranger technology to create a Megazord that was the most advanced Zord ever created, even more advanced than the Time Force Rangers Zords. It was powered by the Zeo Crystal that was used for the Zeo Ranger powers that Tommy Oliver decided to use for the power source. I only got to peel it once but never got to use it in a battle," said Eric. "How come you didn't got to use it?" asked Sasuke. "Well, by the time it was complete I already had gotten control of the Q-Rex and decided to use the Battle Fleet Megazord as a backup in case the Q-Rex got damage in battle," replied Eric. "Do you think you could show us one of your Zords?" asked Naruto. All of a sudden Sakura drove her fist into Naruto's head, sending to the floor seeing stars. "Why did you do that for Sakura?" asked Naruto once he got up. "Because it is rude to ask Eric to show us one of his Zords," said Sakura, holding her fist to Naruto's face. "It's okay, Sakura. I think I can show you guys the Q-Rex before we train, if it's okay with Kakashi-sensei," said Eric. "It's okay by me. Besides, I wanted to see one of your Zords up close to see what it looks like," said Kakashi. With that, Team 7 continued to eat their breakfast. After they were done, Kakashi told them to follow him out the door to the place where they would train. With that, they followed Kakashi out the door to their training ground, after 2 hours of walking through the forest to a clearing. "Okay, before we get to your training, I want Eric to call the Q-Rex out so we can get a look at this Zord," said Kakashi. "Okay, everyone stand still," said Eric. Eric then took his morpher to his face and said, "Q-Rex arise." All of a sudden the ground beneath them shook and they heard a roar coming from the distance and the sound of footsteps coming towards them. After only waiting 10 seconds they saw the Q-Rex coming towards them running top speed. "Eric, can you stop that thing?" asked Naruto, scared. "Sure, like this. Q-Rex, I command you to stop," shouted Eric into his morpher. As soon as the command was spoken, the Q-Rex stopped in front of them, towering over them. Team 7 stood in awe as they managed to get a good look at the Q-Rex. "Eric, your Zord is the same size as the Kyuubi," said Kakashi, surprised. "Yeah, I never seen anything like it in my life," said Sakura. "It is nothing but a big piece of scrap metal," commented Sasuke, hiding his amazement at the Zord. "Is there any more surprises on this Zord?" asked Naruto. "Yeah, there is one more surprise. Q-Rex Megazord mode," said Eric, shouting into his morpher. The Q-Rex then transformed. First its legs straightened up and the body went up, while the arms and the laser on top of it turned around and made a new set of arms, with one having a missile launcher as a hand while the other arm had a normal fist. The head and the silver part of the neck came apart and came down on the body, and finally the black part with the Quantum Ranger symbol like on Eric's visor opened up and revealed a robot face. After the transformation was over, the Q-Rex looked like a metal human-like machine ready for battle. "So what do you think?" asked Eric. "It looks awesome," said Naruto. Yeah, it looks so amazing, replied Sakura. Well, I am not impressed, said Sasuke, angry at Eric. Eric, how are you controlling the Q-Rex? Asked Kakashi. Oh, I am controlling it by voice command, replied Eric. Does this mean if one of us transform into you we could use your morpher to control the Q-Rex? Asked Sasuke. No, because there was this mutant criminal that intimated my voice and got control of the Q-Rex, and after it was defeated the morpher changed to where the person must have the same voice and DNA as the one the morpher scans, said Eric. Since that explains that. Eric, can you send the Q-Rex back to your sub-pocket dimension so we can get on with your training? Said Kakashi. With that said, Eric told the Q-Rex to go back to its hiding place and it disappeared into white light. Team 7 then look at Kakashi and Naruto decide to speak up. Kakashi-sensei, what kind of training are you going to give us? Asked Naruto. Well, I am going to teach you all how to climb a tree without using your hands, replied Kakashi. You got to be kidding us? Asked Sasuke. No, I am not Sasuke. Let me show you what I mean, said Kakashi. With that, Kakashi went to a tree and started to climb up it without using his hands and ended up upside down to prove his point. How is he doing that? Asked Sakura. I am focusing my chakra into my feet and using that to keep from falling down, said Kakashi, climbing down the tree. So this is a chakra control exercise, right, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Eric. You are correct, Eric. The point of this exercise is to get the right amount of chakra into your feet to stick to the tree and keep on focusing it there to keep from falling, explained Kakashi. But how will this get us stronger? Asked Naruto. It will get you stronger by making you have better chakra control, so you will need less to preform a jutsu. Now I want you to focus chakra into your feet and use these kuni to mark your progress, while I take Eric here alone to train someplace else, said Kakashi, handing Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto kuni. How come Eric doesn't need to practice tree climbing? Asked Sasuke, giving Eric a glare. Because Eric is beyond the tree climbing exercise and needs to focus on a more advanced chakra control exercise, said Kakashi. I can understand that, Kakashi-sensei. Eric has had more training than us, said Sakura. Good, now that's settled. Eric, the first want you to follow me and we be back later to check on the others, said Kakashi. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, replied Eric. With that, Kakashi took Eric away from the others and they headed into the woods. After 15 minutes of walking, Kakashi led Eric to a small body of water. Okay, Eric, we're here, said Kakashi. So what is this training about? Asked Eric, confused. I am going to teach you to walk on water, said Kakashi. How are you going to do that? Asked Eric. Think of this like the tree exercise, but instead of focusing your chakra on a soiled surface. The point is to adjust your chakra while on the water's surface since it keeps on moving, explained Kakashi. With that, Kakashi demonstrated by walking on the water and stopping in the middle. Okay, Eric, it's your turn. Just do as I told you to do and you will be fine, said Kakashi. Okay, here goes nothing, said Eric, focusing chakra into his feet. With that, Eric walked on the water and managed to keep from falling. Kakashi looked at Eric with a smile under his mask. Very good, Eric. Now that you have the water walking down, I want to teach you a rank jutsu, said Kakashi. Kakashi then led Eric off the water and over to a rock. So what kind of jutsu are you going to be teaching me, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Eric. I am going to teach you my jutsu, the Chidori, which is a jutsu I came up with, replied Kakashi. With that, Kakashi showed Eric the jutsu and told him how to do it. Eric then did as Kakashi told him and did the jutsu right the first time. Good job, Eric, you're good for about 10 with is about 6 more than I can do, said Kakashi. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. I promise that I will use this to protect my teammates and the village from danger, replied Eric. That's good to hear. Now before we go back to check on the others, I want to ask you a question, said Kakashi. Sure, you can ask me anything, replied Eric. I want to know if you will be able to pass on your white lighter powers and healing abilities as an immortal on to your children if you ever have any? Asked Kakashi, curious. Because of the was I was born, my powers as a white lighter and being part immortal would be passed on to any children I may have. With to you would be called a bloodline trait like the Sharingan, replied Eric. Well, since you're the last of your family minus your uncle and grandfather and the fact you are a ninja of the village, You will be required by law to have more than one wife to pass on your bloodline trait so it doesn't die out, said Kakashi. What do you mean I have to have more than one wife? Asked Eric confused. I mean is that you will have to have more than one wife because you are the last of your family and need many heirs to ensure that your bloodline trait does not disappear forever, replied Kakashi. I can understand that, said Eric. So what are you going to call your bloodline trait? Asked Kakashi. I think I call it the Stardust Knight bloodline trait and I would like to change my last name when we get back to the village, said Eric. That a good name, and what will be your new last name? Said Kakashi curious. I think I will take my grandfather's last name McLeod as it mean a lot to me, replied Eric. Eric McLeod. It has a nice ring to it, said Kakashi. With that, Kakashi and Eric headed back to see how far the rest of Team 7 had gotten with the tree climbing exercise. As they were walking, Eric decided to ask Kakashi a question. Kakashi-sensei, may I ask you a question? Asked Eric. Sure, ask away, replied Kakashi. What happened to the nine-tailed fox demon that attacked the village? And please tell the truth, as I can tell when a person is lying, said Eric. While Eric, you see, the Kyuubi was not killed but was sealed into a newborn baby by the fourth Hokage, who gave his life to save the village and asked the child to be seen as the hero, but the villager saw the child as the demon in human form, said Kakashi sadly. The Kyuubi was sealed inside Naruto, wasn't it? Asked Eric. Yes, it was, but Naruto isn't really the Kyuubi like the villagers think, but is a person who looks out for the village and his friends, replied Kakashi. I know Naruto isn't the demon but the container, said Eric. Naruto is really lucky to have friends like you, Eric, seeing him as a person, replied Kakashi. The fourth Hokage is Naruto's father, isn't he? Asked Eric. How do you know that? Asked Kakashi shocked. I know because one Naruto looks like the fourth Hokage in a picture I saw in the Hokage's office, except Naruto has whisker marks and two is the fourth Hokage wouldn't use no one's child except his own to carry the burden, replied Eric. You are correct, Eric. But you must not ever tell Naruto he is the fourth Hokage's son. It is to him to know when the time is right, said Kakashi. I promise I will keep it a secret, replied Eric with a smile. With that, they continued to walk back to the others. When they got back, they saw that Sakura had made to the top of the tree and Naruto and Sasuke had only made halfway up their trees. Kakashi told Sakura and Eric to go to the bridge and guard Tazuna while he kept an eye on Naruto and Sasuke's progress. With that, Sakura and Eric headed towards the bridge and got there in 20 minutes. Eric and Sakura sat down and watched Tazuna order the workers around and made sure the bridge was going to get done on time. Sakura decided to ask Eric to talk more about his world. Eric, can you tell me more about your Earth? Asked Sakura. Sure, what do you want to know? Asked Eric. Well, what does Silver Hills look like? Asked Sakura. Well, there is a lot of buildings made out of steel that reach the clouds and are called skyscrapers, said Eric. What else is there? Asked Sakura curious. Well, there is the park where people like to spend their free time, and there is the mall, which is a lot of stores inside a big building where people like to shop, and finally there is the zoo and biolab where I used to work, replied Eric. It sounds like a nice place to live, said Sakura. It sure is, Sakura, replied Eric. So are you friends with the other Power Rangers? Asked Sakura. No, I am not. I just have to work with them sometimes to keep the city safe, replied Eric. How come you aren't? You are a Power Ranger to Eric, said Sakura. Because they are friends with my former best friend Wes, who is the Red Ranger, replied Eric with an angry tone. What happened between you and this guy Wes that broke up your friendship? Asked Sakura. It is a long story, said Eric. Please tell me, Eric, asked Sakura pleading. Okay, Sakura. The story begins about 3 years ago in a place called Silver Hills Prep School, said Eric. Flashback: Silver Hills Prep School 3 years ago. The school day had just gone out for the day for the students. Eric was waiting for his best friend Wes to meet him at the bench outside in the courtyard to hang out. Hey Eric, said a student with dirty blonde hair and blue eyes wearing a school uniform. Wes, good to see you could make it, replied Eric, giving Wes a handshake. So what should we do first? Asked Wes. How about we go to the dojo and spar a little, and then we can go to the mall and grab a bite to eat and hang out till it's time to head back home? Asked Eric. Sounds like a plan to me, Eric. replied Wes. With that they started to head out of the gates and headed to the dojo. But before they could make it to the gates they were stopped by a student named Harry. "Hey Wes, I need to speak to you for a minute," said Harry. "Sure, what is it?" asked Wes. "Well, me and a few of the students are going to have a party tonight and wanted to know if you wanted to come to it?" asked Harry. "Sure, me and Eric will love to come," replied Wes. "Sorry Wes, but Eric is not invited, just you," said Harry. With that Wes saw Eric started to leave and he looked angry. Wes left Harry and started to chase after Eric. "Hey Eric, wait up!" shouted Wes, catching up to Eric. "Why should I wait for you?" yelled Eric. "Come on Eric, the first didn't even want to go to that party anyways," replied Wes. "Yeah right Wes, you are like all the other rich kids in this school. You think you can have whatever you want and get it, while people like me have to work hard to earn what we have," snapped Eric. "Eric, your background has nothing to do with what happened, you're my best friend," said Wes. "You're wrong Wes, my background has everything to do with this, and you can consider our friendship over. I am leaving this place and you can go back to hanging out with your rich friends," shouted Eric. With that Eric stormed off, leaving Wes behind yelling for him to come back. End flashback. So you see, Sakura, Wes chose his rich friends over me and I left until I joined the Silver Guardians and found out Wes was the Red Ranger. Finish Eric. "Man, that is a sad story Eric, but I think you might have overreacted," said Sakura. "What do you mean?" asked Eric. "I mean, from the sound of the story Wes was a friend and maybe it's time for you to let what happened go and be friends again if you ever see him again," replied Sakura. "I guess you were right Sakura, but I think I need to think this over first," said Eric. "Sure, just take your time," said Sakura. With that they continued to watch Tazuna work and after 10 minutes it was the end of the workday. "All right you two, we need to head to the store to pick up some things for dinner," said Tazuna. With that they headed to the store and got there in under 5 minutes. When they got in, Sakura and Eric noticed that there was hardly anything left in the store. "Ah Tazuna, how come there is almost nothing in the store?" asked Sakura. "Well, you see, when Gato came and took over, he took over the shipping and trading outlets and put taxes on everything and it made us poor. So now we have to make use of what we have," said Tazuna. "That is sad," said Eric. "Yes it is, but I will be glad when Gato is out of the way and the bridge is finished so our land can become rich again," replied Tazuna. "Well, since that is going to happen, how about I make dinner tonight and give your daughter a rest," said Eric. "You can cook Eric?" asked Sakura. "Yeah, my mom taught me how to cook so I could make my own food when I lived on my own," replied Eric. "So what are you going to make?" asked Tazuna. "That is a surprise," said Eric. With that Eric took some things off the shelves and paid the cashier the money for the items and gave him some extra to use to get food for his family. With that they head back towards Tazuna house and got there within 15 minutes. When they got in they saw Kakashi sitting at the table with Naruto and Sasuke. "Hi Kakashi-sensei. How did training go?" asked Eric. "It went well, but Naruto and Sasuke need to work more before they can complete the tree climbing exercise," replied Kakashi. "Well, give me one more day and I will get to the top of the tree Kakashi-sensei," said Naruto. "Yeah right you doby," said Sasuke. "What did you just say Sasuke?" shouted Naruto. "Naruto Sasuke, stop acting like lil kids," said Sakura with an angry tone. "So what did you pick up from the store for me to make dinner?" asked Tsunami. "Well, Eric picked up the supplies saying he was going to make dinner so you could have a break tonight," replied Tazuna to his daughter. "That nice of you Eric. So what are you going to make?" asked Tsunami. "Well, it is a dish from my world that is popular and it will take a while to cook, but I can say you will all like it," replied Eric. "I think it will be worth the wait," said Sakura. With that Eric went to the kitchen and started to make dinner. They watch Eric put together strips of pasta he made with dough, ground beef, cheese, and tomato sauce in layers in a pan and put it into the oven. After 20 minutes of waiting, Eric took the dish out of the oven and brought to the table and served it and they all ate. "Man Eric, this stuff is good," said Naruto. "Yeah, what is it called?" asked Kakashi. "It is an Italian dish called lasagna that my mom taught me to make when I was only 7, replied Eric. "Well Eric, your mom sure taught you well on how to be a good cook," said Sakura. "Yeah, this is better than my cooking," said Tsunami. "Thanks a lot," replied Eric. As they were eating, Sasuke decided to ask a question. So what should we do about Zabuza and his partner the masked ninja? Asks Sasuke. Well, you and Naruto still need to finish the tree climbing exercise, and after that we can take care of Zabuza and his masked partner, replied Kakashi. Then we can get rid of Gato once and for all and free the land of waves, said Naruto. All of a sudden Inari stood up and said, "You are all fools if you think you can win against Gato." "Yeah, right, you're looking at a real hero in front of you and I am going to take down Gato," replied Naruto. "There is no such things as heroes and you're going to end up dead if you stand up to Gato," said Inari. With that Inari took off with his tsunami calling for him to come back. "What's his problem?" asked Eric. "He being like this ever since his father died," replied Tazuna. "How did he die?" asked Sakura. With that Tazuna explained how Inari's father Kai's came into their lives and saved their town from flooding and was seen as a hero until the day Gato moved in and Kai's stood up to him and was killed in front of everyone including Inari. So you see, Inari thinks that no one can stop Gato and there is no such thing as heroes, finished Tazuna with a sad tone. All of a sudden Naruto slammed his hand to the table and said, "Well, I am coming to prove to Inari that heroes are real and stop Gato to prove it." "Well, you can count me in," said Eric. "Okay, since that's settled, we should turn in for the night and get ready for training in the morning," said Kakashi. With that Team 7 headed for bed to prepare for tomorrow. Meanwhile, somewhere on Eric's Earth in what looked like a temple, the Tribunal of Magic that were made up of 3 people representing the 3 forces of magic, one being a male all red representing neutral magic, another male all black representing dark magic, and the final one a female all white representing good magic, were talking to a mysterious figure kneeling to them on one knee. "We need you to go to the Earth where the Quantum Ranger Eric Myers is," said the red male. "May I ask why you are sending me there?" asked the figure. "It is because we decide to give Eric the legendary warrior powers and need you to give it to him and teach him how to unlock the power," replied the black male. "Also, Eric is not done with his training to be a knight and needs you to finish the training you started with him," said the white female. "I understand your decision and will obey you," said the figure. "You understand, once we send you there is no way for you to come back here ever again," said the red male. "I understand very well, and I promise by my honor to teach Eric to unlock the legendary warrior powers and help protect the people and village he cares about with my life," replied the figure. "Good, now before you go we will give you access to all your powers and magic, so you can protect yourself and teach Eric to be a knight," said the white female. With a wave of their arms a blue portal appeared in front of the figure and he stepped through to carry out the orders of the Tribunal of Magic. The next morning Eric woke up early and decided to go for a jog. He put on a pair of baggy camouflage sweatpants, a massive blue t-shirt with a picture of the Incredible Hulk on it, a pair of white socks and white sneakers with the Superman shield on them, and a yellow Hulk Hogan bandana that said Hulkamania on it in big red letters. With that Eric walked out his bedroom door and bumped into Sakura. "Eric, what are you doing up this early?" asked Sakura. "Oh, I was just going out for a quick jog," replied Eric. "That is smart, Eric. By the way, have you seen Naruto?" said Sakura. "Yeah, I saw him leave last night saying he was going to train until he reached the top of the tree," replied Eric. "That's just like Naruto," said Sakura. "Hey Sakura, since you up and dress, would you like to go jogging with me?" asked Eric. "Sure, I could use the workout," replied Sakura. With that they went out the door and went into the woods jogging. As they were jogging they were being watched by 5 of Gato's men who were hiding in the bushes. "So that 2 of the ninja that Tazuna hired," said one man. "Yeah, and that kid there is the one that beat up Zabuza," said another. "Well, they look pretty weak to me," said a third man. "So what should we do?" asked a fourth. "Well, we should kill the boy and take the girl and do as we please with her since she looks cute," said the leader. "Yeah, that boy does not stand a chance against all 5 of us," said the first man. With that they decide to put their plan into action. At that moment Eric and Sakura decide to rest for a while before they headed back to Tazuna house for breakfast. "So Sakura, what did you think of our jog?" asked Eric. "Well, I think it was very tiring but was very peaceful, not to worry about the mission," replied Sakura. "Well, we better get back so we can get some breakfast," said Eric. With that they got up and started to head back to Tazuna house. But before they could walk 10 feet they were ambushed from the bushes by 5 men armed with swords and Eric was knocked to the ground. When Eric got to his feet, he saw Sakura was being held by one of the men with a sword across her chest. "Let her go, you creeps!" shouted Eric. "I don't think so," said one of the men. "Yeah, if you care about her you will not pull anything or else she dies," said another man. "I will do anything, just not her go," plead Eric. "That is good. But you know what, we will kill you first, and after we through with her we will kill her to teach anyone to must with our boss Gato," said the leader. With that, the leader took his sword and prepared to kill Eric quickly before Eric could defend himself. "Wolf attack," said a voice, and a purple beam with wolf heads came out of nowhere and sent the men flying to the ground, releasing Sakura. When the men got up they saw a figure covered in purple armor with 2 silver wolf heads, one on each shoulder, with a gold W on his chest, holding a purple shield and sword in his left hand. "Who the hell are you?" yelled the leader. "I am Corag the Night Wolf and your time is up," said Corag. "Master Corag, what are you doing here?" asked Eric, looking at his former teacher in shock. "I will tell you later, Eric. But for now let me take care of these dishonorable men," replied Corag, taking out his night saber. "You think you can scare us with that armor of yours?" said one of the men, looking at Corag. "You're the ones that are going to pay for attacking defenseless people that were unarmed," replied Corag. "I think it's time for you to die," said another man. With that, the men charged Corag with their swords. Corag easily deflected their swords by blocking them with his night saber and shield. Corag then went on the offensive, using his night saber to knock the men's swords out of their hands and ramming his shield into the ground, causing the men to fall off their feet and onto the ground. "You 5 don't deserve to live, as you have no honor," said Corag. With that, Corag took his night saber and said, "Dark magic strike." The night saber then glowed black and Corag then slashed down with it, hitting the men with a black light streak, and they fell to the ground in an explosion of fire and smoke, tired and weak. "I will let you 5 live so you can tell your boss Gato that if he attacks my student and his friends ever again, he will answer to me," said Corag, looking at the leader. With that, the men quickly got up and ran away as fast as they could to get away from Corag. Corag then put his night saber back into his shield. "Are you two okay?" asked Corag. "Yeah, thanks to you, Master Corag," replied Eric. "So you're the knight that serves the side of evil and taught Eric magic spells and train him to be a knight?" asked Sakura. "Yes, I am, and it is nice to meet one of Eric's friends," said Corag. "How did you get here, Master Corag?" asked Eric. "I will explain everything once we meet the rest of your team," replied Corag. With that, they all headed back to Tazuna House and got there in 15 minutes. Kakashi was waiting for Eric and Sakura to return when he saw them walking back with a person covered in purple armor carrying a sword and shield walking with them. He quickly took out a kuni and ran right at Corag, thinking he was an enemy. "Eric, Sakura, get away from that man!" shouted Kakashi. With that, Kakashi brought his kuni down on Corag, who ended up grabbing his hand and making drop the kuni. "Kakashi-sensei, what are you doing?" asked Sakura. "I am trying to save you from this man," replied Kakashi. "This guy is my old teacher, Master Corag, and he saved us from some of Gato's men," said Eric. "You mean this is the person who trained you to be a knight and taught you magic?" asked Kakashi. "Yes, I am his old teacher. And who are you?" said Corag, letting go of Kakashi's hand. "I am their Jonin teacher, Kakashi," replied Kakashi. "So you're Eric's teacher? Then it is an honor to meet you. My name is Corag the Night Wolf," said Corag. "It is an honor to meet you and thanks for saving my students," replied Kakashi. "So where are Naruto and Sasuke?" asked Sakura. "Well, they're inside getting to eat breakfast before they start training again," replied Kakashi. "Then we better get inside so we can eat breakfast," said Eric. With that, they all went inside the house. When they got inside, Naruto, Sasuke, and Tazuna were sitting at the table while Tsunami was making breakfast when they saw the rest of Team 7 come in and notice Corag standing next to them. "Kakashi-sensei, who is the man in the purple suit of armor?" asked Naruto, looking at Corag. "This is Eric's old teacher, Corag the Night Wolf," replied Kakashi. "So what bring you to our world?" asked Sasuke, giving Corag a cold stare. "Yeah, Master Corag, how did you get here and why?" asked Eric also. "I guess I will explain now. I was sent here by the Tribunal of Magic," said Corag. "Okay, who is this Tribunal of Magic?" asked Naruto, confused. They're a group of 3 beings whose job it is to keep the balance of magic in check, replied Eric. As I was saying, the tribunal sent me here to give Eric the legendary warrior power and train him to unlock it and also to finish his training as a knight, said Corag. Okay, but why should Eric get this power and not someone who deserves it? Asked Sasuke, angry that the power should belong to him. Because Eric has proved himself to be an honorable warrior and would not use it for his own personal gain like you, Sasuke, replied Corag in a cold tone towards Sasuke. So where is this power? Asked Sakura. I have it right here, said Corag as a ball of gold light appeared in his hand and said to Eric, please step forward, Eric. With that, Eric stepped forward and the ball of gold light lifted out of Corag's hand and stopped over Eric's quantum morpher and transformed into a beam and went into his morpher. Thanks you, Master Corag. So how long will you be staying for? Asked Eric. I am afraid that I am stuck here forever, replied Corag. How is that? Asked Kakashi. You see, the portal that sent me here is a one-way trip. Once I went through, there was no way for me to get back, replied Corag. So what will you do? Asked Tazuna. I will go back with Eric and his team to their village and protect it like I told the tribunal I would, replied Corag. I think the Hokage would love to have you as part of the village, said Kakashi. Okay, you guys, enough talking, breakfast is ready, said Tsunami. With that, they all sat down at the table except Corag, who remained standing up. Naruto decided to ask Corag a question. Mr. Corag, how come you do not get out of your armor and sat down and eat breakfast with us? Asked Naruto. Because what you see before you is my true form and I don't need to eat or sleep, replied Corag. How come that is? Asked Sakura, confused. Well, you see, I was created by the Master of Evil from the spirit of the person who gave their life, sealing the Master away, replied Corag. You mean Udana's husband Linbo? Asked Eric, shocked. Yes, you are correct, Eric. When Linbo died, sealing the Master up, the Master used the last of his dark magic to infuse Linbo's spirit, giving it solid form and turning it into me, the Master's most loyal servant, Corag the Night Wolf. I may be evil, but I do have Linbo's code of honor and respect for his enemies and urge to protect innocent people, which is why I decide to train Eric, as he is an honorable person even though he serves the forces of good, replied Corag. So can't you use your powers to make yourself a human body? Asked Sakura. I can. But what is the point in doing it? Said Corag. Well, it would help you to blend in with the people of this world, as it would be weird if you stayed in your armor form all the time, replied Kakashi. You do make a good point, Kakashi, so I will do it, replied Corag. With that, Corag started to chant a spell and a dark magic seal appeared below him. After 10 minutes there was a flash of light and it blinded everyone in the room. When it faded, there was now a young man about 21 years old standing where Corag once was. He was dressed in the same cloths as what Linbo wore, except that the vest and pants were purple and the shirt was a midnight black. He had long black hair pulled in a ponytail with streaks of silver and purple, with his bangs on his head a blood red color, and his eyes were a deep amethyst with specks of gold, silver, and sapphire blue in them, and on his left cheek was a black western dragon. Strapped to his left side was a katana like Eric's, except instead of a dragon's head there was a silver wolf head for a hilt, and there was a purple mystic morpher on his right hip in a holder. The end result was Corag looked like a mix of Tommy Oliver, the immortal Duncan MacLeod, and Sub-Zero from the second Mortal Kombat movie with the mask off. So how'd I look? Asked Corag, sounding like the Ranger Tommy Oliver. You look very handsome, replied Tsunami. Thank you, replied Corag. With that, Corag took a seat at the table and breakfast was served. As they were eating, Kakashi told them that Zabuza should be all prepared to attack them in a day or two. So what do we do right now? Asked Sasuke. Well, you and Naruto are going to finish your training and Eric and Sakura are going to guard Tazuna at the bridge, replied Kakashi. And what about Corag? Asked Sakura. Well, I will be training Eric on the bridge to help unlock his legendary warrior powers, while you and him are guarding Tazuna, replied Corag. That sound like a plan, Master Corag, said Eric. Yep, and it means there will be an extra person to guard Tazuna, said Kakashi. With that said, they all finished their breakfast and got ready to do what they need to do to prepare for Zabuza's attack. Meanwhile, in Zabuza's hideout, Zabuza's partner Haku was looking him over to see how his recovery was coming along. Looks like you're almost back to 100%, said Haku. Good, and have you learned anything about Kakashi Genin from your scouting mission? Asked Zabuza looking at Haku. Not very much more about them, especially the Genin Eric Myers, replied Haku. That too bad. I wanted to know how that Genin pulled off that trick of his that nearly cost me my life, said Zabuza with an angry tone. My, how the mighty Zabuza has fallen, said a voice. Zabuza and Haku turned around and saw Gato looking at them. What do you want, Gato? Asked Zabuza. I wanted to see what happened to you with those ninja. You said you could take care of them, but what I see is that they were too much to handle even for you, replied Gato. I could have killed them if it wasn't for a Genin that pulled a trick off I never seen, said Zabuza. You mean one Genin did this to you? Asked Gato laughing. It's not funny. If you saw what this Genin did to Zabuza, you would probably be dead by now, said Haku with a cold stare. Well, it seems that these ninja have a powerful ally with them, said Gato. What do you mean? Asked Zabuza. Well, 5 of my best men were going to kill 2 of these ninja when they were attacked by a figure in purple armor with a sword and shield calling himself Corag the Night Wolf. He ended up beating my men with no problems and sent them running scared for their lives, said Gato. You mean your men were beaten by a man in armor? Asked Haku, holding back her laughter. It is not funny, you little creep, replied Gato. I tell you what, Gato, once I am fully healed, I will kill these ninja and this ally of theirs, if you give me another chance, said Zabuza. Fine, you will get another chance as you are the best at what you do, but if you fail me this time you will suffer my wrath, said Gato. With that, Gato left. Haku, once we meet Kakashi and his ninja, I want you to take care of his Genin, especially that Eric Myers, while I take care of Kakashi and this ally of theirs. Understand? Said Zabuza. Understood, Zabuza, replied Haku, bowing. Meanwhile, Sakura was on the bridge guarding Tazuna with Eric and Corag, watching as Corag was training Eric by having him spar by both of them using their katanas. The spar was even, but Sakura saw that Corag was taking it easy on Eric. Come on, Master Corag, stop holding back, said Eric. Fine, Eric. But I warn you that you will lose, replied Corag. With that, Corag took the offensive by blocking Eric's katana and using his katana and thrusting his body for a WRD to send Eric to the ground hard on his back. Don't just lay there on your back, Eric. Training is not over, said Corag, looking down at Eric. Fine, Master Corag. But I will beat you, replied Eric, quickly getting up. Good, now that you are determined, we can focus on the real training, said Corag. And what would be the real training be, Master Corag? Eric. The real training is that you have to be morph, and so focus on protecting the people you care about, that you will be able to unlock you legendary warrior powers, said Corag. How do I focus on that? Asked Eric. Well, the first thing is that we will both morph and fight like it is a real battle, and that you must contract that the people on this bridge are in danger, and that should help you to unlock the legendary warrior powers, my student, replied Corag. That sounds like a plan, said Eric. So you're ready, Eric, said Corag, pulling out his morpher. Yes, I am, Master Corag, replied Eric, putting his arm with his morpher to his face. Good. Now let's begin. Dark magic source, dark mystic force, said Corag. Quantum power, said Eric into his morpher. There was bright flash of light, and when it faded, there now stood Corag in his armor and Eric in his ranger form. Okay, Eric, let's fight with honor, said Corag, pulling his night saber out of his shield. Yes, Master Corag, with honor, replied Eric, holding his quantum defender in blade mode. With that, they charge each other. Corag swung his night blade down on Eric, who blocked it with the quantum defender. Eric then used the quantum defender to deliver a slash attack to Corag's chest, sending him backwards, kneeling. Had enough, Master Corag, said Eric. That was a pretty good move, Eric, but don't become too overconfident, replied Corag, getting back on his feet. With that, Corag charged Eric again and used his wolf attack that Eric barely avoided. Corag then used a dark magic strike that ended up hitting Eric before he could dodge, sending him to the ground. Ready to admit defeat, Eric? Asked Corag. Never, and I have a trick up my shelf, replied Eric. What, your mega battle mode? Asked Corag. No, but something more powerful. VR Trooper battle mode, engage, shouted Eric. All of a sudden there was a flash of light, and when it faded, Eric stood in the red Sentinel Ranger armor, except that the armor had streaks of silver mix in with the gold, and Eric's helmet had a gold tint to it. So what do you think? Ask Eric. I am very impressed. You gotten more powerful, but power alone does not make a knight, my student, replied Corag. I know, Master Corag. But you're still going down. VR battle mode sabers power up, said Eric, and the swords on the back of Eric's armor flew off and attached to his arms. With that, they once again charge each other. Eric and Corag block and attack using their weapons. Eric looked like he was gaining the advantage until Corag surprised Eric by blocking Eric's sabers with his shield and kicking him in the chest with his feet, and finally using a dark magic strike that hit Eric so hard it sent him to the ground and made him demorph. What happened? Asked Eric, confused. Your overconfident attitude of your left you wide open for attack, which I took advantage of, and that is why you lose, replied Corag, who then demorph. So looks like I have a lot more training to do before I become a knight? Asked Eric. Yes, you do, but you have come a long way from when I first met you and begin your training as a knight, and for that you have made me proud as your teacher, replied Corag. Thanks a lot, Master Corag, said Eric. With that, Sakura ran over to Eric. Eric, that was impressive. Now I know where you learned some your moves, said Sakura, blushing. Thanks a lot, Sakura, replied Eric, blushing as well. Are you three done yet so we could go home now? The workday is over, said Tazuna. With that, they headed back to Tazuna's house to eat dinner and got there in half an hour. When they got in, they saw Tsunami was about ready to serve dinner and saw the rest of Team 7 sitting at the table ready to eat. They then sat down at the table and dinner was served. As they were eating, Kakashi told them that Naruto and Sasuke had finally finished their training and decided to come back to rest. So Corag, how did Eric's training go at the bridge? Asked Kakashi, curious. It went well, Kakashi. I think with some more training Eric will be able to unlock the legendary warrior powers, no problem, replied Corag. So Kakashi-sensei, what are we going to do tomorrow? Asked Naruto. Well, tomorrow we will all meet at the bridge and protect Tazuna, as Zabuza most likely will attack him by then, replied Kakashi. And what about Corag here, Kakashi? Asked Sasuke. Corag will be joining us as his dark magic and skills will come in handy when we fight Zabuza, replied Kakashi. You have my word of honor as a warrior, Kakashi, that I will do anything in my power to make sure Tazuna will be kept safe, said Corag. Thanks, Corag, and now we should head for bed so we can prepare for the battle tomorrow, said Kakashi. With that, they all headed to bed to prepare for tomorrow. Before Eric could get to his bedroom, he was stopped by Sakura. Eric, can I talk to you for a minute? Asked Sakura. Sure, Sakura. What is it about? Replied Eric. I just wanted to say thank you for saving us all from Zabuza and that you are a good friend to have, said Sakura. Thanks a lot, Sakura, you are a good friend too, replied Eric. When are you going to kiss? Asked Naruto, coming out from his hiding spot. All of a sudden, Sakura drove her fist into Naruto's head, sending him to the ground, seeing stars. What did you do that for, Sakura? Asked Naruto. That was for spying on me and Eric, replied Sakura, cracking her knuckles together. Naruto, why were you spying on us in the first place? Asked Eric. Well, I figure that you two had gotten real close and that maybe you are now a couple, replied Naruto. Naruto. Me and Sakura are just real good friends and that it, said Eric. Yeah, and if you want to live for the rest of the night, you better run away as fast as you can before I decide to kill you right now for spying on us, said Sakura with killing intent aim at Naruto. With that, Naruto took off like a bullet to get away from the now angry Sakura. Meanwhile, inside what looked like a sewer inside a cage with the sign for seal was a girl who looked like identical twin of Sakura, except instead of her eyes being a jade green, they were a sapphire blue, and she was wearing a pink kimono with silver foxes and gold flowers on it. This was no ordinary girl but the nine-tailed fox Kyuubi in her human form. Right now she was watching Naruto's memories of the battle Eric was fighting against the ninja Zabuza playing on what looked like a television screen. She had also used her powers to peer into Eric's mind when he was near Naruto and had seen all of Eric's memories, and now was blushing because she had fallen in love with Eric. She knew of a way to leave the prison she was in, but it would require that she give up her full demon form and be stuck in her human form, but with all her powers and chakra intact, and Naruto would be left with the powers of her demon form. She knew that it would be a great sacrifice, but it would be worth it to actually touch and hold Eric for real. Very soon I will leave this place and I can be together with my dear Eric forever, said Kyuubi, blushing at the thought. The next morning Eric woke up and looked at the clock. The clock said 9:30 a.m. Oh great, I overslept. Well, I better get dressed and hurry to the bridge, said Eric. With that, Eric put on his Silver Guardian's uniform that Tsunami washed and dried last night. He then strapped on his weapons and headed out the door and bumped right into Naruto. Watch where you going, Eric, said Naruto. Sorry, Naruto. I overslept and now I need to hurry over to the bridge, replied Eric. What do you mean you overslept, and what time is it? Asked Naruto. Right now it's about 9:40, replied Eric. Oh great, that means we both overslept, said Naruto. Well, we better hurry before Kakashi-sensei sends Master Corag back here to get us, said Eric. What would Corag do to us? Asked Naruto. Trust me, Naruto, you do not want to know, replied Eric. Then we better hurry before Kakashi-sensei sends Corag after us, said Naruto. With that, they both went down the stairs and rushed out the door to the bridge in a hurry. As they were leaping from tree to tree, Naruto saw a dead pig on the ground and told Eric they should check it out. They then dropped down to the ground and took a look at the pig. I wonder what could have caused all these cuts, asked Eric. Looks like a couple of samurai use it as target practice from the cuts, replied Naruto. Yeah, Naruto, you're right, and there are two set of footprints leading backwards to Tazuna House, said Eric. What would samurai be heading towards Tazuna House for? Asked Naruto. I think these samurai must work for Gato, which means that Tsunami and Inari are in danger, replied Eric, snapping to full alert. Then we better hurry back there before something bad happens to them, said Naruto. With that, they headed back full speed back to Tazuna House. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the rest of Team 7, including Corag, were with Tazuna waiting for Eric and Naruto to join them. Okay, where are Eric and Naruto? They should have been here by now, said Sasuke. They probably overslept, said Sakura. I wonder what's taking them so long, asked Kakashi. I don't know, Kakashi, but if we have to wait another minute, I will go back there and get them myself, and Eric knows what happens if he is late, replied Corag. What happens to Eric when he is late? Asked Tazuna. Well, last time he was late for training. I made him run around the forest of Briarwood until he passed out from exhaustion, replied Corag. Well, then they better get here soon, said Kakashi. All of a sudden a thick fog came from out of nowhere and engulfed the bridge. What's going on here? Asked Corag. This is Zabuza hidden mist jutsu. Sakura, Sasuke, protect Tazuna. Corag, you are with me, said Kakashi. With that, they took their positions. Kakashi then looked out and saw Zabuza with Haku standing next to him 20 feet in front of them. Ah, Kakashi, good to see you again, said Zabuza. I wish I could say the same thing, replied Kakashi. Who is this man next to you? Asked Zabuza, looking at Corag. Let me show you who I am. Dark magic source, dark mystic force, replied Corag, and there was a bright flash of light and Corag now stood in his armor. You're that person Gato told me about. Now I can kill you too, said Zabuza. You're wrong, Zabuza, for you are the one who is going to die, as I am Corag the Night Wolf, replied Corag, pulling out his lightsaber and pointed it at Zabuza. We shall see. And where is that genin of yours, Eric Myers, Kakashi? Asked Zabuza. Eric isn't here right now, and I don't need him to beat you, Zabuza, replied Kakashi, reveling his Sharingan. While I guess this is between me, you, and your ally here, Haku, you can do what you want with the other two genin over there, said Zabuza. As you wish, Zabuza, replied Haku. With that, Zabuza took his sword off his back and charged Kakashi and Corag, while Haku went after Sasuke. Meanwhile, back at Tazuna's house, two of Gato's men were attacking Tsunami while Inari was watching scared. Come on, miss, you're coming with us, said one of the men. Why would I want to go with you too? Asked Tsunami. Because it is Gato's orders and we don't want to hurt you in front of your son, replied the other. All of a sudden Inari remembered Naruto's words and ran in front of his mom. Leave my mom alone or else. Threatened Inari. What are you going to do, you little brat? Asked the first man. He is not going to do nothing, but we are, said Naruto. The man turned around and saw Eric and Naruto standing in the doorway with a look of anger on their faces. I suggest you two leave this house now before something bad happens to the both of you, said Eric. I don't think so, you brats, said the other man. The men then pull out their swords and attack Naruto and Eric. Naruto went after one man and used a shadow clone to knock the man's sword out of his hand while the real Naruto stabbed him in the heart, killing him. Meanwhile, Eric took out his Celtic sword and used it to break the other man's sword in half and then ram it through the guy's gut, sending him to the floor dead. "Inari, are you and your mom okay?" asked Eric. "Yeah, thanks to the two of you," replied Inari. "Inari, you were very brave to stand up to those men. Your father would be proud of you," said Naruto, giving him a thumbs up. "Thanks, Naruto," said Inari. "Inari, me and Naruto are going to the bridge to help Kakashi and the others. I want you to go get help and meet us at the bridge," said Eric. "You can count on me, Eric," replied Inari. Eric, how are we going to get there in time?" asked Naruto. "Like this, Naruto," replied Eric. Eric then grabbed Naruto and they disappeared into sparkling white light. They then reappeared on the bridge next to Sakura and saw Kakashi and Corag fighting Zabuza. "Eric, Naruto, where have you two been?" asked Sakura, worried. "We run into some trouble with two of Gado's men," replied Eric. "Sakura, where is Sasuke?" asked Naruto. "He is over there trapped in a wall of ice mirror created by that masked ninja," replied Sakura, pointing to a wall of mirrors about 2 yards away from them. "Sakura, me and Naruto will go get Sasuke while you stay here with Tazuna," said Eric. "Alright, Eric, just be careful," replied Sakura with a worried voice. With that, Eric and Naruto rushed towards the wall of ice mirrors and made it safely inside. They noticed that Sasuke was blocking thousands of needles flying at him with his kuni and he had his Sharingan activated. "What are you two doing here?" asked Sasuke, angry. "We came here to rescue you, Sasuke," replied Naruto. "I don't need any rescuing," said Sasuke. "Well, looks like you need rescuing to me," said Eric. "Well, looks like you finally show up, Eric," said Haku. Eric looked up and saw Haku's image in all the mirrors. "What do you want?" asked Eric. "I want to kill you by the orders of my master Zabuza," replied Haku. "Something tells me you do not want to kill us, so why do you work for a creep like Zabuza?" said Eric. "You're right, but the reason is that Zabuza saved me from being killed when I was a little kid and I have made a promise to become his weapon and achieve his dream of becoming the leader of his village," replied Haku. "That's still not a reason to go killing innocent people who just want to save their town," said Naruto. "Enough talking, it's time for you all to die," said Haku. With that, Haku threw a needle aimed right towards Eric. All of a sudden, Sasuke ran in front of Eric and took the needle in the side of the neck and fell to the ground. "Sasuke, are you alright?" asked Naruto. "I don't know, Naruto," replied Sasuke weakly. "Why did you take the hit for me?" asked Eric. "Because you are my teammate and because I have respect for you," replied Sasuke. "Thanks, Sasuke," said Eric. "Eric, promise me one thing?" asked Sasuke. "What is it?" replied Eric. "I want you to find my brother and kill him for me to avenge my clan, since I will not be able to do it," said Sasuke, who then collapsed. "Eric, what wrong with Sasuke?" asked Naruto. "I am afraid he is dead, Naruto," replied Eric. All of a sudden, Naruto looked up at Haku and had a look of pure hatred on his face. "You kill Sasuke. Now you will pay with your life," shouted Naruto at Haku. All of a sudden, Eric saw Naruto was surrounded by a red aura that took a shape of a fox's head, and Naruto grew claws and canines and his eyes turned red and slitted like a fox. Naruto then head straight for the ice mirror that Haku was in and break in pieces and sent Haku sending to the ground, breaking her mask and revealing her face. As Naruto was ready to deliver the final blow, he saw Haku's face and realized this was the same person who gave him advice a few days ago. The red aura around Naruto disappeared and he returned to normal. "You're the same person who gave me advice about protecting my precious people," said Naruto, surprised. "Yes, I am Naruto, but we're enemies now and you will have to kill me," replied Haku. "I don't want to kill you, Haku," said Naruto. "You must, because I am nothing more than a broken weapon now and am no use to my master Zabuza, and now you must kill me," said Haku. "Is there no other way to avoid this?" asked Naruto. "I am afraid you have no choice," replied Haku. "Then I guess I will have to kill you, Haku. So prepare to die," said Naruto, pulling out a kuni. Naruto then charged Haku head-on with the intent to kill. Before he could reach her, Eric came out of nowhere and tackled Naruto to the ground. "Eric, why did you stop me?" asked Naruto. "Because this does not feel right and I need to tell you Sasuke is still alive," replied Eric. You mean Sasuke is still alive? Said Naruto, surprised. Yes, I felt a pulse and realized that the needle missed all his organs and only put him into a deep sleep, replied Eric. That's good to hear, Eric, said Naruto. Eric then turned to face Haku and decided to ask her a question. Why did you not kill Sasuke? Asked Eric. Because I didn't want to kill any of you, replied Haku. Okay, so why are you and Zabuza attacking us and trying to kill Tazuna? Asked Eric. Because Gado paying us to kill him so Zabuza can take over his village, and he gave us one more chance to kill Tazuna, replied Haku. I am afraid Gado is planning on double-crossing you and killing all of us, said Eric. What do you mean, Eric? Asked Naruto. I have a sixth sense and I have the feeling this is a trap, and I also used the computer in my morpher and it detected around 101 people heading towards us, and I am betting one of them is Gado, replied Eric. Then we have to do something before your friends and my master Zabuza are killed, said Haku. Don't worry, Haku, we will stop Gado before it happens, said Naruto. Naruto's right, Haku, we will stop Gado before anything happens, replied Eric. So what the plan, Eric? Asked Naruto. The plan is that you and me will try to stop the fighting and warn everyone while Haku here takes care of Sasuke, replied Eric. You can count on me to watch over Sasuke, said Haku. With that, Naruto and Eric ran off to warn the other about Gado's trap. Eric and Naruto ran and got to the spot where Kakashi and Corag were fighting Zabuza and saw he was trapped by Kakashi ninja dogs and they were about to deliver the final blow. Eric, we got to do something to stop the fighting and warn them, said Naruto. I just wish I had the power to stop the fighting and warn about Gado's trap, replied Eric. All of a sudden Eric's morpher glowed gold and was giving off a huge amount of power. Eric, what's going on with your morpher? Asked Naruto. I don't know, Naruto, but something telling me to use my morpher, replied Eric. Then you better use it before something bad happens, said Naruto. Okay, here goes nothing. Legendary source Mystic Force, shouted Eric into his morpher. All of a sudden Eric was covered in gold light, and when it faded Eric was wearing identical armor to Corag, including the same sword and shield, except instead of it being purple it was a crimson red. Eric, what with the armor? Asked Naruto. This must be the legendary warrior mode Master Corag told me about, replied Eric. So what now? Asked Naruto. You stay here, Naruto, while I stop Kakashi-sensei and Master Corag from killing Zabuza and warn them about Gado's trap, replied Eric. With that Eric ran towards the fight. Meanwhile Kakashi and Corag were ready to finish off Zabuza with a Chidori and Dark Magic Strike. Before their attacks could make contact, a figure in the same armor as Corag, with the only difference being the armor was a crimson red. The figure stopped Kakashi's Chidori with his shield and blocked Corag's Night Saber with his own. Kakashi-sensei, Master Corag, you have to stop, said Eric. Eric, is that you? Asked Kakashi, surprised. Yes, it is, replied Eric. So you activated the legendary warrior powers, Eric. But why did you stop our attacks? Said Corag. Because this is a trap set up by Gado to kill all of us, including Zabuza and Haku, replied Eric. You are talking nonsense. There is no way Gado would double-cross me, said Zabuza. I would beg to differ, Zabuza, said a voice. The fog then lifted, and standing 100 feet away was Gado with 100 men armed with swords standing next to him. What is the meaning of this, Gado? Asked Zabuza. Well, you see, Zabuza, I decide to hire these men as it is cheaper to pay them than you, and decide to kill you in the process of killing Tazuna, replied Gado with a smile. Zabuza looked at Kakashi and said, since I am no longer working for Gado, this means we are no longer enemies, Kakashi. I agree with you, Zabuza, we are no longer enemies, replied Kakashi. So what do we do now? Asked Eric. I say we fight them and kill Gado, replied Corag. You and what army? Asked Gado. How about us? Said a voice. Gado looked ahead and saw Inari standing with the villagers. Inari, good to see you could make it, said Eric. Thanks a lot, replied Inari with a smile. So all the villagers are here too. It does not make any difference, said Gado. Then you can't count me in, said Eric, and all 5 of his spirit rangers appeared next to him ready to fight. Count me in too, said Kakashi, making a hand sigh and making 30 shadow clones appear. Yes, it will be honored to get rid of you, Gado, said Corag, pointing his Night Saber at Gado. Face it, Gato, your time is up, said Zabuza, taking his sword off his background. With that they all charged Gato and his men. Eric and his spirit rangers used their weapons and took out 30 of the men, while Kakashi and his shadow clones with the villagers took out 25 more. Corag used his dark magic to finish off the rest of the men. Gato watched as his men were all killed and now was staring Zabuza, who looked like he was going to kill him. Zabuza, don't do this. I will pay you anything you want, begged Gato. You had your chance, Gato. Now you will pay with your life for crossing me, said Zabuza. With that Zabuza rammed his sword through Gato, killing him. After it was all over, Eric looked and saw Naruto, Sakura, and Tazuna walking over to them with Haku and Sasuke, who looked like he was now fully recovered from Haku needle. Hey Eric, good to see you made it, said Naruto. Thanks Naruto. And how are you doing, Sasuke? Said Eric, now demorph. I feel like crap, but otherwise I am fine, replied Sasuke. That good to hear, Sasuke, said Eric. Eric the first, I'm glad to see you are alright, said Sakura. Yeah, thanks to my legendary warrior mode, replied Eric with a smile. Eric, thanks for warning us about Gato's trap, said Kakashi. Yeah, and I am proud you unlocked the legendary warrior powers, said Corag, who was now demorph. Thanks a lot, Kakashi-sensei and Master Corag, replied Eric. Ah, Kakashi-sensei, what will happen to Zabuza and Haku now? Asked Naruto. I think they should come with us and join the village. What do you think about it, Zabuza? Said Kakashi. I think it would be a good idea, as me and Haku need some place to settle down, replied Zabuza. Then it is settled, we will return to Tazuna House, and once the bridge is finished we will all return to the village, said Kakashi. With that they started to head back to Tazuna House. Before they could start to walk, a girl came out of nowhere and tackled Eric, sending both to the ground. When the others managed to get over to Eric, they saw the girl was hugging Eric tight and had a blush on her face. They saw the girl look identical to Sakura, having the same face and pink hair, except her eyes were blue instead of green, and she was wearing a pink kimono with silver foxes and gold flowers on it, and Kakashi noticed her chakra was red instead of blue. Sakura took one look at the girl and had a look of anger on her face. Hey, you got off my boyfriend, shouted Sakura, not realizing she let her true feelings for Eric slip out. What do you mean your boyfriend? He belongs to me, replied the girl with a voice identical to Sakura's. What do you two mean? Asked Eric, confused. Well, you see, Eric the first fell in love with you since you saved me from that ninja, replied Sakura with a big blush. Well, I being in love with you since I first laid eyes on you, Eric, said the girl with a blush on her face too. Okay, I understand now, but can you tell me your name? Asked Eric with a blush on his face from hearing what the girls told him about their feelings. Sure, the name's Kyuubi, you know, as the nine-tailed fox, replied Kyuubi with a smile. All of a sudden Kakashi took out a kuni and pointed it at Kyuubi with the intent to kill. Okay, demon, explain how you escaped from the seal and give me a good reason not to kill you, said Kakashi with venom in his voice. I escaped from the seal by giving up my full demon form when Naruto loosened the seal when he fought Haku. I can also explain why I attacked the village 12 years ago if you let me, replied Kyuubi with tears in her eyes. Kakashi-sensei, please put the kuni down and let's hear Kyuubi's story, said Eric, holding Kyuubi close to protect her from Kakashi. Okay, I am listening, said Kakashi, putting the kuni away. You see, 12 years ago my parents, my father being the real Kyuubi, were killed by a man named Orochimaru who was wearing a leaf ninja headband. So I transformed into my demon form and went after him until I attacked by the ninja of your village and killed some of them by defending myself until the 4th Hokage sealed me into Naruto, where time was frozen, and I stayed 12 years old until I escaped. I am very sorry for killing all those ninja and for ruining Naruto's life, said Kyuubi, who broke into tears. So Orochimaru was responsible for everything that happened to our village 12 years ago, said Kakashi, angry. Kakashi-sensei, who is this Orochimaru? Asked Naruto. He is one of the legendary Sannin and a very evil and twisted person who is after immortality. I should have guessed he was behind Kyuubi attack on the village 12 years ago, replied Kakashi. So what do we do now, Kakashi-sensei, about Kyuubi? Asked Sakura. I will tell the Hokage and the council everything that Kyuubi told us. They and the villagers will be able to forgive her for the attack once they realize Orochimaru tricked her by killing her parents, replied Kakashi. Kakashi, how much does the village hate this Orochimaru? Asked Corag. The entire village hate him so much that if he was to step foot into the village they would kill him where he stands, replied Kakashi. Well, since this is now settled, can we head back to my house? It is getting late, said Tazuna. With that, everyone including Kyuubi head back to Tazuna house and reach it within 30 minutes. When they got inside they decide Kyuubi would sleep in Sakura's room and they then all went to bed. Later that night Sakura and Kyuubi were up talking about Kyuubi life when Sakura decided to ask Kyuubi a question. Ah, Kyuubi, I need to ask you something? Said Sakura. Sure, what is it about? Replied Kyuubi. You love Eric, don't you? Asked Sakura. Yes, I do very much, since I use my powers to peer in his mind and saw his memories and saw him fight to protect you all. Now I want to ask you a question, Sakura? Replied Kyuubi. Sure, ask away. Said Sakura. You love Eric just as much as me, don't Sakura? Asked Kyuubi. Yes, since I first got to know him and saw he wanted to protect me, replied Sakura. Well, since we both love Eric and we don't want to give him up, how about we share him? Said Kyuubi. That sounds like a good idea, but how are we going to marry him? Said Sakura, confused. Well, one of the memories I saw was Kakashi and Eric talking about him starting a clan, since his powers would be passed on to any children he would have and he would need more than one wife to ensure his bloodline would not disappear. Which means we could both become his wives and have his children, replied Kyuubi with a smile. That sound like plan. We need go tell Eric right now about what we decide on, said Sakura. With that they went out the door and went across the hall to Eric's bedroom and knock on the door. At that moment Eric was up thinking how he was going to handle the problem with Kyuubi and Sakura, since he realized he was in love with both of them when there was knock at his door. He got up and went over to the and opened it, saw Kyuubi and Sakura at the door. Kyuubi and Sakura saw Eric open the door and saw he was wearing massive black shirt with the Autobot symbol on it. He was also wearing night pants with pictures of the superhero Spawn on them and white socks on his feet. When they saw him they both had a blush on their faces. What are you two doing at my door? Asked Eric, confused. Well, me and Kyuubi have decided on what to do about the three of us, replied Sakura. What do you mean? Asked Eric, curious. Well, since we both love you the same and that you need more than one wife to start a clan to pass on your bloodline trait. We both agree to share you if you want to, replied Kyuubi. It fine, because I both love you the same and would not want anything to happen to the both of you. So what I am saying is that I would be honored to be both of your boyfriend, said Eric. With that said, Eric kissed both Sakura and Kyuubi on the lips and they all then had blushes on their faces. Well, it's about time you three kiss, said Naruto coming out from his hiding place. Naruto, what the idea spying on us? Demands Sakura. Yeah, explain yourself now, said Kyuubi with anger in her voice. Well, you see, I was walking back from the bathroom when I saw the three of you talking and decided to hide to see what would happen, replied Naruto, scared. Well, that was not nice spying on us, said Eric. I am sorry for spying on you guys, said Naruto. You're dead meat, Naruto, shouted Kyuubi and Sakura together. Before Naruto could even move, Kyuubi and Sakura pounced on him and started to beat him up. After they were all done, Naruto was on the floor all bruised and beaten from both girls and managed to get up and run before they could do any more damage. 1 month later and the bridge was all finished and Team 7 was saying goodbye to everyone. Inari told Naruto thanks for everything him and the others did for their town. Naruto told Inari he was proud of him for standing up to those men and that his father was proud of him. After everyone said their goodbyes, Team 7 with Zabuza and Haku headed back towards the village. As Tazuna and Inari watched them leave, Inari decided to ask his grandfather a question. Grandpa, what are going to name the bridge? Asked Inari. How about the Naruto Bridge, after the person who helped save our town, replied Tazuna. As they were heading back, Sasuke noticed that Sakura and Kyuubi had their arms wrapped around Eric and were walking with him. Hey Kakashi, what's going on with those three? Asked Sasuke. Oh, nothing for you to worry about, Sasuke, replied Kakashi. Yes, it's none your business what going on between my student and the two girls, added Corag. With that said, they continued to walk back to the village in silence. That's it for this chapter. Sorry about the wait, but I was busy with other stuff and finally managed to get this chapter done. So what did you think about the appearance of Corag? The reason behind the story is that I like Corag but I really don't like Limbo, so I made Corag into somewhat of a OC. I decide this will be a Eric harem story and the other girls will appear in later chapters. There will be a poll to see who Corag will be paired with. The choices are the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next part.